Hi. So I've been largely unproductive today. That was not my intention. Thank you guys for your streaks. I'm making a comeback. Explain, Jade. Congrats on your three stream streak. I have not been productive today. I had my video go live. I folded laundry. I had therapy. And that was kind of it. I did make the mistake of updating my payment on my Crunchyroll account, so I was able to start watching Crunchyroll again. That was probably a mistake. Did I finish repacking for my flight tomorrow? No. That's a later problem. But I feel like, at least when I'm streaming, this is productive, you know? Like, I'm procrastinating and still being lazy, but like I am doing, this is work, you know? So like this is easy to like justify. Sounds productive to you. I'm an insane person, you know, who has 24 hours in my apartment before I have to get on a plane and be gone for another 4 days, 5 days, you know? So like in theory that's productive. In practice it's not, you know, not with my job, not when I'm self-employed, you know. You're getting paid too. Yeah. Someone gift a sub to make this make sense. Literally, because I was talking with my therapist, because of course I was, because that's what you do. We were talking about a bunch of things, but she was like, you know, she's worried because apparently a lot of her clients, she was not disclosing clients, but she was like, are you worried about like feeling pointless with what we're doing like day to day because of the current state of things? But I was going off about Ebola a lot in our session, okay, as I tend to do. She heard me go off about hantavirus 2 weeks ago, you know. So I also was explaining the Garden Grove, you know, chemical leak. Supposedly, like I said, it's not going to explode now. I still think that means the answer is it leaks into the fucking water supply. So there's that. Don't like it. But I was explaining everything and she was like, oh, are you at that point where it's like, oh, it feels pointless to be doing things? And I was like, no, because fortunately for myself, because I am so independent and because I am self-employed, at least when I'm going through the motions of doing things and like I rationalize it with the spot of, okay, I need to keep doing work because then I give myself options. If I just put my head in the sand and start screaming or slip into a deep, dark depression, my options become limited, you know? Like, I'd have to move back in with my dad. I then have to deal with someone and live with someone that I know voted for the psychopath, you know? Like, then I have to, you know, oh, then I'm reliant on them for money. Oh no, what next? You know, so like, at the very least, with like, I can motivate myself and remind myself I have options. Like, I don't have to marry some random fuck, you know? I have options. I can be a single for the rest of my life, you know? I live in Washington and thankfully I'm not close to it, but I'm terrified since the leak is so close to the Columbia River. There's another chemical leak in Washington. God. I see there's like every day there's something new. And it's never the headline that I want. You know? You know, they're building the stage for the UFC fight, by the way, at the White House, which this entire time I thought was a bit. I'm gonna be totally honest. I was hoping it was a bit. The IndyCar race I knew wasn't, but I was hoping that was a bit. It was not. They're building it. They're building the fight ring now. Also, I made mac and cheese, and then it sat on my counter for a little bit, so. Matt. Sorry, I still don't have the thing. You won the Swole Grand Prix. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry. I just bit into a thing of cheese. Cheese powder. Oh, I also found out, because people suck, apparently there's some right-wing people in LA that hate the food vendors. And they're picking a fight with my chosen post-concert, post-sporting event, post-con food, the street dog people. I will kill for the street dog people. I want to make that very clear. I will defend them to the death, okay? I won't tolerate. We got enough not in my backyard fucks out here. You're not taking the fucking street dogs from me, okay? We're not doing this. You're not taking the hot dogs from me. Street dogs, yes. Aggressive princess waving, yes. So street dogs are push carts that people bring out, and they cook up hot dogs, and they toast the bun, and they will saute onions, they'll saute peppers, okay? They'll saute, and they will give you a piping hot toasted bun street dog, okay? For a very reasonable sum, okay? I get mine with onions, loaded up with some ketchup, okay? Do you know how much it slaps once you've just been screaming at your team to play better? Which I do a lot because I root for the Kings, the LA Kings. Okay, I yell at them a lot. Okay, do you know what? You know when it slaps the most? At 9 in the morning, when I forgot to eat, but I've already made it all the way to the convention and nothing else is open, and I refuse to go to a Starbucks. And you know what? There's always at least one street dog vendor that's like, oh, I'm gonna make some cash while everyone's in line for the convention. And you know what? She has my back every single fucking time. Okay? You know, it slaps. A toasty, a steaming street dog slaps like 9 in the morning. Okay? If anyone goes after them, okay? I've already declared to fight ICE. I will fight the NIMBY people. I will. We're not doing this shit. As a non-American, this took me a whole second to realize you meant hot dogs and not, you know, Bluey or Clifford. I said street dog vendors with my life. Feels like a reward. It's so good. They're basically being like, oh yeah, they're harming local businesses. Like the crypto.com arena. Like, what are we talking about? I clearly did not mix this well enough. But the cheese just like, it solidifies so quickly. It's very weird. I'm assuming it's also lay racism, okay? Because street dog vendors, the good ones, are not white. Frankly, I don't think I'd trust a white street dog vendor. It's not gonna taste right. I know that. I know it's not seasoned right, okay? I'm assuming it's the racism. Shop food trucks would realize the wrong people would use it for nefarious purposes, yeah. I went to Intuit Dome less than a month ago, and when we got out, there was no street dogs anywhere nearby. We were thinking they kicked them out. How dare they? They don't know. Like, see, that's the thing. Like, they also, like, if events were smart, if venues were smart, they would be making a symbiotic relationship with them, okay? Okay? Because, like, then you can make sure that, like, if people are hanging out around your venue, if they're not feeling rushed out, it helps with traffic, frankly. If you have street dog vendors on site, okay, then while people are taking their time to go to their car, and when they get to their car, they're enjoying their little street dog if they're not having it on the benches outside, okay? It's helping with traffic purposes. You get less people bitching about the traffic trying to leave your venue. Work with the street dog vendors. I think I heard that's what they did with the vendors in Detroit, especially the Illich family owned places. So 1000% racism. Everything I see a small pop up, I must go and show support for my people. They are the most hardworking, kindest people on earth. Should make hot dogs for dinner. Exactly. And I'm gonna be honest, as someone that didn't eat hot dogs for like a good decade of my life, in my defense, when I was like 7, I had a hot dog at an Easter party. I got the flu later that night. So for a good decade, I did think that I got food poisoning from a hot dog. That is not what it was. I definitely had the flu, but the smell of a hot dog did throw me off for a good decade. So when I finally came back and saw the street dog ways, okay, these things are an institution. okay? These are required, okay? Nothing's more American. I know it's not American, but still. Nothing's more American than a nice street dog, okay? Okay, after a sporting event, fucking America, okay? And we have people bitching about the fucking street dogs. This fucking woman. As a Democrat, I can admit I've been voting wrong. Look what Mayor Karen Bass has allowed to happen to Hollywood Boulevard. It's not disgusting. It's not only disgusting, it's embarrassing. It's so much worse than the picture depicts. And it's street dogs, but it's also people like selling stuff. Thank you, Nomad, for you won the Swell Grand Prix. I don't have my flag. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Docu Lapin, thank you for following. Sorry. What's even American anymore? Whatever I decree it to be. Like I said, whichever Democratic candidate for, because we're not going to get a socialist candidate. Whatever Democratic candidate we get for a presidential nomination for 2028, I just need, whichever Democrat at least tries to throw a punch first. That's who's going to get my vote at this point, because I'm sick of the Democrats. When they go low, we sit down and we go to the polls. You know, I'm sick of that shit. I want someone to actually make a move, actually. Do something. Ref, do something, okay? You gotta be the ref at this point. Hands being thrown. I want hands thrown. I want someone to do something. I want to see a fire under their ass that is not just asking people to give them money. Vote. Okay, a bunch of you, a bunch of the Democrats, okay? You're already in office. We voted. You won. The people elected you. I also want to stop using the phrase you won, actually, when it comes to elections. You were elected. Do your fucking job. You didn't win. You were elected. You will not be elected again if you don't do your fucking job. Okay? So I, like the ones that are in office, try. Do literally anything. Because like you look, Mom Donnie's a mayor, okay? But look at what he's getting done. Like it really is, like this is the thing. I think we need more millennial Democrats. We need more millennials in office. Fuck, I'll take, the millennial Republicans are being psychotic actually, so I take that back. I just want more millennials in office. If you know the loving embrace of the smell of lead paint, I don't want you in the fucking Congress, okay? I want you out. I want you out, okay? That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, okay? But that's the thing. They're not trying, Jas. That's the problem. So many of them are not trying. They're like, oh no, we can do this if you voted. Oh yeah, you guys voted, but you know, we love Israel. We love Israel, we do. Ooh, you guys don't. Ooh, you're wrong and stupid. That's unfortunately how Dems are talking to the young people right now, not realizing how this is going to go for them. Like, this is gonna keep happening. The President of the United States is calling journalists to their face piggy, and you're a stupid person. Those are real quotes from the Commander-in-Chief. And the Dems are worried about fucking civility. The White House declared essentially jihad against anyone that is anti-fascist and anyone that is aggressively pro-transgender, which I think just means because I believe that trans people have the right to exist, that I deserve death. and we're worried about fuck-ass civility, grab a fucking chair, okay? And fucking swing. Get up, grab it, swing it. I'm tired. I'm irritated. I'm doom and despair, sigh. My tutorial is read more instead of scrolling in the morning. I will say, reading in the morning instead of scrolling has immensely helped my brain. And also, every new piece of news I see about AI is giving me a little bit of hope every day. So, we now have a powerful ally, i.e. the Catholic fucking Church on our side. So there's that. In Minecraft, exactly, Sparkly. Hello, Alexandra. I'm yelling about the state of democracy in the United States. Pope Deep Dish is such a good nickname. Never forget that you are the main data center. Drink water and consume as much literature as possible. Politicians aren't afraid anymore, and they should be. Like I told you guys, I'm watching The West Wing right now. And again, it's very good. It's also not helping with my depression. I would like to think that there is a time where we can get back to this of like the Dems actually doing shit, you know? So the West Wing, it's not Western Wing, it's West Wing. And the West Wing is what is the West Wing of the White House, is where like the actual Oval Office is. It's where the actual like duties of the president and the like office of the president, you know, everything is happening in the White House, okay? The East Wing, I believe, is almost entirely the residence, if I'm remembering correctly. I admit, even when I did my DC trip, I don't think we ever did a White House tour. It's very common in the United States to do a DC trip in like 8th grade. It'll be so sad, yeah. And again, there was a time in my life, not much, but there was a time in my life where I did consider politics. I think everyone considers politics. Would I ever do politics? No. Especially, it's one of those, like, what's that line from, what's his name? I'll never be president, not unless a lot of people get really cool with a lot of stuff really fast. I feel like, you know, but again, Mr. Beast is, if Mr. Beast runs for president one day, because I'm older than him, I will also run. Because I cannot allow that man to become president. So if he runs, I will run. For the sheer sake of beating his ass, okay? We'll do one debate, I'll curb stomp him, and that'll be the end of it, okay? That'll be it, okay? I will start going to law school right now. Like, I will start applying for law programs right fucking now if that's what I need to do, okay? My 3rd grade teacher told my parents to prep to be a politician and set me on track to be president. LOL, I love it. The only times I considered politics was when Mr. Beast, Jon Stewart runs for president. Who would win? Jon Stewart. Is that what you're asking? Amanda for president? What are some changes you'd implement? You guys, I don't want to be fucking president. Okay? I would simply be there to... God, you guys, if he runs for... Because would he run... Has he said if he would run for Democrat or Republican? Has he said? Or did he say independent? Because I will literally run in the same... If he runs for Republican, I will run Republican. I am not a Republican. I will run Republican just to decimate the vote so he does not become the fucking nominee. Okay? I will... You want to see how far I'm willing to take this? I am a generational hater. Moonrise, thank you for subscribing. You won the Swole Grand Prix with the Prime... Nope, not with the Prime Boost. You won the Swole Grand Prix. All those people in high school class are in politics now, but at least one of them ruined his career by causing a mistrial in a rape case. Jesus. It's crazy work. I love it. Mm-hmm. Too late. Started a writing campaign. Wait, who? Was when I was in elementary when they said to choose what you'd like to do for the future. Yeah, I never particularly wanted to be the president. I feel like God, did I want to be a senator? I won't lie, when I watched House of Cards, I was like, I think I'd be a good whip. I think I'd be a good majority whip watching that. That was before we knew everything, but still. Be president growing up. If I become, I feel like everyone got told they should be president growing up. I was told I was gonna be president of my Girl Scout troop. I was a sophomore. I was a freshman, and they were like, they wanted me to apply for office for my troop because I was one, always there, and I was good. And they were like, Amanda, you didn't sign up for anything. And I was like, time management, because I was like struggling with school and stuff. So I didn't apply. I was also being abused at home, but alas, they didn't know that part yet. But I was president for 2 years in a row for Girl Scouts, for my senior troop. God, did I run for school? I ran for class president in elementary school. I did not do it in middle school. I definitely did not do it in high school. I did do a mock trial, and at some point in mock trial, I was scouted for a summer law program that I was not allowed to do because my mom said no. So, but that could have been good. I was the only freshman to be a lawyer in mock trial my year. So, my parents were team talk Courtney out of it. They have too many hobbies, interests, but imagine if we did take that stuff seriously, LOL. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like, I always think about, there's this little boy on TikTok whose he wanted to be a fashion designer. And so his parents just turned in like one of the rooms in their place into like his little studio. And he is just like making dresses. Like he was like, I have ideas. I want to make them. And like he's fully being a fashion designer. And it's like, yeah, why aren't we doing more of like that with kids and things like that? You know, like, hey, I want to be a plumber. Okay, let's go. Let's find a plumber. Let's find a plumber that'll let you like shadow them for a little bit. Why not? You know, like let's get kids excited about things versus, you know, TikTok. like what? Let's try it. What happened to career day? Are schools doing career day? The last time my school did a career day was middle school. Encouraged me to do We the People class, and that left me with so much rage, and nobody ever actually read the Constitution. They quote so much. Yeah. Should we do a Constitution reading stream where we just read the Constitution? I do think if you are an American, by the way, I do think you should have a copy of the Constitution. I had one. I don't know where it is. I do need to get a new one. But because this administration is pulling shenanigans, I do think every American should own a Constitution in their home. They are very small. You can get them for $5. I don't recommend downloading one off the internet because AI and shit right now. There's so many government websites that are just deleted right now. So I do recommend a physical copy that you have and own. Should all stand to read more cursive too before folks forget how to. Yes. Are getting away with is that if the roles were reversed and the Dems were in power, they would be successfully blocked them on a lot of things Trump is doing, but the Dems somehow can't find some laws to make his life hard. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like there was a little bit here and there where we were getting a few like judges and such to like actually file things, but it's like they're getting tired, and it's like, okay, resign. You know, if you're tired and you're in office, I need sharks. You know, like I want a fucking shark. There is a Republican, okay? There is a I believe he's a senator. No, Republican congressman? Yes, congressman, who him and his wife are missing. Straight up missing. And they're not old. So my vote is on the run. Because insider trading, that's my vote. But the fact that that is not, if you are not present for multiple meetings and such, I think that should be an immediate removal from office. What are we doing? If I miss multiple classes, I would be dropped from a class in college. If I missed multiple 0 periods, my high school would have taken the 0 periods from me. You're in charge of a district with thousands of people in it. I think you should lose your seat. The end. Special election. The end. We don't even make 200K and we work 130 days. Yeah, he's a fucking loser. Again. Sorry, I'm scrolling through Twitter as I'm talking to y'all. Sorry, Mick Schumacher went to the celebration for the Indy 500 with his new girlfriend, and she's gorgeous. But someone said Mick cannot handle all of that, and apparently Alexander Rossi liked the tweet, which is really funny. Peach, by now, if he'd done half the things Trump has done so far. Dude, the thing, apparently the girlfriend getting a high degree right now from a university in Europe, sick. We love an educated queen. Did you see the guy, very cute new octopus? Yes, we have a new little octopus, although I do feel like we've seen him before. Hold on. Cute little octopus. Cute blue octopus. Of course, there's AI. Okay. This is from CBS News. Let me pull it up. Hold on. Window capture. God, that was my neck. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? That was my neck. Strange new species of blue octopus discovered by scientists 5,900 feet underwater. It's beautiful. Okay. This, do we have an author? No? Okay. This is the new little octopus. Look at him. His name is, where's his name? They named it already. Where's the name? I swear to God. Microleodon galapagenius. That's what I was gonna propose. Great. Sparkly, what happened? Very cute. Stay all the way over there, little guy. You don't like him? You don't like him? Micro Lee Odon Galapagenius. That'd be a good drag name. I thought you were trying to write it out phonetically. Alrighty. Okay, let's go back to yelling about the government. I'm kidding, I'm not. Let's see. Is he okay? He's 9,000 feet down. So he's considered a deep sea creature. He's 5,000-ish feet down, I believe. Majority of aquatic life low-key freaks me out, but my thalassophobia and kinophobia are both worse. LOL, valid and fair. Still laughing at Scott McLaughlin saying David Malukas calls him and Joseph Unk. That makes sense. What do you think is more likely this year, another pandemic or a war breaking out? A war is happening. My government, at the behest of Israel, bombed a school full of girls and killed them because Iran has oil. And apparently they want to put a data center there or some shit. I don't fucking know. They told us it was because they were very close to nuclear weapons, which they have been saying my entire fucking life, by the way. So we're fully at war. So yes, your worst goblin. I read YouTube chat when there's something to read. I'm safe as long as Amanda doesn't go on a sinkholes kick, LOL, or something like open waters. Oh, well, I guess we won't. We'll skip over the sinkhole story I wanted to talk about today. I'm kidding. There was no sinkhole story. Thank you for following Your Worst Goblin. Welcome to Twitch. Both, why not both? Damn it, I'm going to threaten my internet company. There isn't bad weather. There's no reason I should not be able to watch stream. Stream is working on my end. I have no drop frames. Speaking of, unfortunately, there's another cave accident in Laos. Of course there is. I think the new pandemic is gonna be Ebola. Let's check the Ebola count, shall we? Do we have the count? Da, 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 da. Give me the count. 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 Nope. Oh, great. Trump administration to send Americans exposed to Ebola to Kenya. Because that makes sense. I just... "8 hours ago, Ebola outbreak at risk of becoming deadliest on record, humanitarian group warns." Live updates. The ongoing Ebola outbreak, which has caused at least 223 deaths in 2 African countries so far, is at risk of becoming the deadliest on record, according to a new warning issued by the International Rescue Committee, a New York-based humanitarian aid group. Tuesday, May 26th, the IRC warns the conflict in the region, rapid spread, and massive funding cuts to global health programs could cause the ongoing Ebola crisis to outpace that of the 2018-2020 outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which killed more than 2,290 people. Okay, so the way that this is also like a direct result of Doge and this administration, like gutting USAID, we pulled out pretty much all of our aid workers from other countries, or just fired them while they were in other countries. That too. gutted all funding for research, gutted all fund. God, even Musk even sheepishly admitted that they had briefly got rid of all of the tracking they were doing for Ebola, and then that was immediately reissued. Who knows if that's true or not? But like, also, Trump removed us from the WHO, which means that we were not alerted to the fact that there was an Ebola outbreak forming till 11 days after the WHO had already announced it to other people. Because we're not in the WHO, so they have no means to disclose that to us, because why would we? Because we've pulled all of our aid from... See, this is the other thing. Symbiotic relationships, soft power, you know, of helping other countries. Trump sees no value in that because there's no direct dollar amount being retributed back to the United States. That's not the point. The point is that when you engage in soft power, i.e. helping other countries with medicine, with aid, with proper protective equipment, okay, then that helps strengthen diplomacy for future issues, for future things, for trade agreements, for if there is another war and either we need help or they need help, or intel so that we know what's going on. Hey, buddy, you know the country above us? Yeah, they kind of can't fucking stand you. You got to be aware of that, you know? Like, there's so many values to soft power, but Trump hears soft and thinks we're not sissies. That's what Trump, I genuinely believe that. No, he'll blame Congo. He won't blame Kenya. He can't blame Musk. Because he can't, again, admit that he gave Musk more power than he ever should have, you know? I love your passion. It's bad news, but at least you share it with an appropriate level of rage. Thank you. Because this is the thing. I am willing to get hate for things that I believe in, but that's because I believe in them, you know? Like, I'm not just sitting here being wishy-washy, this is what's popular right now. I'm dead fucking serious. I hate this administration. I didn't vote for this man. I've never voted for this man. If he somehow becomes immortal, I will never vote for this man, okay? I think I will sleep better at night when he's out of the fucking White House. Regardless of what method that is done in, I will sleep better when he's out of the fucking White House. I want his entire cabinet investigated and tried at The Hague, okay? I'm sick of this shit, okay? But I love my country. I love my fellow Americans. I don't like what my country stands for right now, okay? Okay. The same way I was concerned about the doctors in China sobbing into the phone, begging for help because their patients were dying and they didn't know what to do at the start of COVID, the same way I feel now. I am horrified to see the men and women of Congo desperately trying to get access to their loved ones' bodies because they I don't know if they don't realize that they could be infected. I don't know if this, again, there's also the cultural thing. I understand burying death rituals are very important in various cultures, the United States as well, you know. But like, to see that pain of their loved, they don't believe that their loved ones are the ones in the coffins because they can't do an identification of the burial. Like, that's horrifying. To see these two children, okay, Americans, okay, looking through the glass to go see their father, who is now under observation because he was exposed to Ebola, okay? And the children are wearing zero protective equipment. Meanwhile, the adults around them are covered head to fucking toe. I hate seeing this. Just because it's not going to impact me tomorrow, it doesn't matter. This is horrifying. Same with hantavirus. I don't care if it's most likely not going to pass from me, from any of these people on these cruise ships. I don't fucking like this. It's a horrible way to die. What do you mean the NDA reports pertaining to... Ugh, God, what? Let me see. Okay, this is from Federal News Network, which I don't know how verifiable this is. This might be bullshit. Trump administration purchases government-wide NDA for federal employees. Hi, an NDA does not protect. If you sign an NDA, if at any point, okay, you are witnessing a criminal action happening, okay, whether you are at a party and something bad is happening and they're like, oh, you signed an NDA, whatever, fine. Take a copy of the NDA, photo, whatever, and then you're immediately going to go and you're going to report what the fuck just happened. Because you know what an NDA does not protect you from? Criminal action. Crimes. Oh, you broke an NDA. Yeah, I broke an NDA. You were committing a fucking crime. You're not making me an accessory because I signed an NDA. That's not how it fucking works, okay? So if you are a government employee and you are signing NDAs, like, does he just think... I mean, he's a businessman. He does think they work like this. He thinks he can just sue everyone into the fucking oblivion. Horrible fucking businessman. The Office of Personnel Management on Tuesday released plans to create a standardized NDA for all federal employees in an attempt to stop government documents from being leaked to the press or otherwise made public. Leaks happen in every single White House. This is not a Trump thing. This is every administration has had... Sorry, I saw my tongue. Every administration has had leaks. Literally every single administration has leaks. For example, I'm disclosing this because we've both signed it. Sparkly and I have an NDA. Why do we have an NDA? Because Sparkly is my digital assistant, and we have a very minor blanket NDA because Sparkly has access to my personal information, like my social security number, credit card information, my address, personal phone numbers, things like that. So if Sparkly were to release these things, yes, there is legal precedent that I would have because Sparkly has signed an NDA. Does that protect me if Sparkly witnesses me committing a crime? No, because that's not how NDAs work. It's just a business thing. You have the NDA so you have legal precedent for if there's a problem down the line, okay? If Sparkly started leaking video ideas, then that would be something else as well. That's not a thing that's happening now. So this is not a concern. I'm just giving an example. Again, if I, for example, like an NDA would not protect me from, say, Sparkly being subpoenaed if I posted a video of me saying breaking and entering something for an event, like me trespassing. Let's give that example. And Sparkly knew that, like, if Sparkly had messages or something and Sparkly was subpoenaed, being like, oh, we want your Discord messages with Swell, you know, like, because we believe that Swell Entertainment purposely trespassed. Sparkly can't be like, I signed an NDA, I can't give you anything, because that's not how that works. Might genuinely discourage anyone from coming forward. Yeah. Back to thinking how there was a thing saying about how certain people in the administration are being told they have protections against their IRS investigations. That's not a thing. He's a businessman that just got a $4 billion slush fund from the IRS to distribute to whoever the fuck he wants. I hate everything. Everything is awful. And the Dems are doing fuck all. They just keep posting, this is illegal, by the way. No shit. So many of you are lawyers. Fucking do something. Pick up a chair. Smack it around. I don't know. Fire someone. Do literally anything. Start setting up fucking subpoenas. I don't know. A standard NDA form will promote consistency across government, better protect confidential information, and better inform federal employees of their insights and obligations regarding confidential information. I mean, this is not, it's unprecedented because I don't believe this has ever been done before. But like there is technically, when you sign on for a government job, there is definitely an NDA associated with it. So it's like all federal employees, I'm assuming they think that this thing directly mentions ICE. So I'm assuming they think people are leaking shit. Like ICE. Oh wait, is it because of that fucking video? The fucking OPSEC video of the fucking bombs getting launched of the missiles? With the fucking plushie? The Toho plushie? Is this because of that fucking video that everyone was sharing around? They're like, we gotta send out an NDA. We can't have anime plushies blowing up our spots. Is the one pursuing, and he's a fucking YouTube guy. Like, where are the political leaders? Yeah. Amanda, don't film your crimes. Also, Amanda, don't email your assistant about your crime. The what? Yeah, do you guys want to see the video proof of us bombing Iran? Sorry, bombing is an exaggeration. These are HIMARS missile launches. Someone said Warchan has seen some shit. Sir, a Fumo has been posted to the Breaking 911 account. Like, footage shows U.S. Army forces launching ATACMS, or Precision Strike Missiles, tactical ballistic missiles from M142 HIMARS launchers towards Iran during the latest phase of the conflict. The launch is believed to have taken place from a neighboring country, most likely Kuwait. See, like, the way this is also going to lead targets to Kuwait now, you know? I just... It's not funny. This is, like, the worst fucking timeline. Like, it really is. It's okay, there's a ceasefire. Yeah, good thing that Israel and the United States are really good at knowing what that fucking word means. I literally saw a video today of an Israeli missile aiming for a dam in Lebanon. Whether the goal is to decimate a water supply or to drown a whole area, a whole civilian area, where it's a fucking war crime. But what does it matter when we're in the war crime timeline? Just awful. Oh yeah, and we've got Dems celebrating the fact that there's a supposed subpoena against, what the fuck? Okay, cool, that's Hale. That's insane. In 5 minutes, Davis, California got half an inch of rain in 5 minutes, which is not common for Davis, California. It's not common for any of us. So that's storm watch. Great. Is it coming here? Are we getting rain? Fuck. Okay, no rain for us, it looks like. That's crazy that it hit like that. I'm flying out tomorrow. But there's currently rain there, it looks like. Hold on. Yeah, it's gonna rain at least the next 2 days when I'm in Denver. And then the weekend it's gonna be really hot. Great. Lovely. Fantastic. Did we learn nothing? Yeah. Those chemical weapons. I just, every day there's something new and I hate it. I hate it. And I hate that, like, we're the evil, you know? Like, it's not even like, it'd be one thing if I was like the horrors of the planet, you know? But it's another thing where it's like, no, I am a citizen of the horror country, you know? And we're a global superpower, you know? We're psychotic. Actually insane how quickly that storm hit. I'm like an hour from Davis. We are getting some crazy wind and ugly weather right now. Fun! Be careful of hail. I'm sorry, I just need you guys to see this image I just saw because it's really funny. It's not funny because, like, it's fucked up, but, like, it's a little funny. Like, I don't want war. But, like, the difference is a little funny. Yay, Callie, have fun. Like, it's extremely accurate. Sorry? Nebraska woman hospitalized after a dog in another vehicle accidentally fired a shotgun at her? What type of bar exam question is this? What? What do you mean? Translocate? I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Because he knows he can't be charged. Made the onion pasta with balsamic and sun-dried tomatoes very good. Yay! I'm glad you liked it. I admit I'm not a big sun-dried tomatoes, like, consistency person, but flavor-wise, solid. Oh yeah, everyone's being weird about Kane Parsons and Curry Barker right now. Kane Parsons directed The Backrooms. Curry Barker directed Obsession. And apparently there is a subset of film losers, and that's what I'm calling them, who think that they're not actually the directors of those projects and that it's like a big conspiracy theory and that there's actually legacy directors, old men directing these projects and not these young dudes, one of whom is 20 and one of whom is 26. And I just want to know, is everyone a dumb fucking idiot right now? Like, I'm serious. Like, what would be the point? If that's your conspiracy, the answer is, what would be the goal? Because, for example, why would the United States lie to citizens about aliens? Why would they give us, if aliens aren't real, why would they give us this folder of alien stuff? Well, obviously, it's to distract us from Epstein, the war, rising prices, every other bad thing this fucking government is doing to distract us. Jangling keys, okay? What would be the fucking point of multiple projects in horror lying about the director? What would be the point? It sounds like he didn't just do it. It sounds like he did a great fucking job. Fucking cope, okay? I'm 28. Yes, I'm also mad I haven't directed a horror film yet. Okay? You know what the answer is? Go fucking go fucking direct a horror movie with your friends, you fucking psychos. God, the guy who was making a successful web series on his own as a teenager got hired at 17 and then directed a movie before he was 20. Yeah. Great. That's how it used to fucking be in the industry. It wasn't all of these old heads the entire fucking time. Jesus. Like, what are we talking about? God, everyone's driving me insane. I'm sorry, I just saw someone. I'm unfollowing someone. I can't tell if she's being serious or not. Sorry. Hang on. Something about Grok. Anyways, stuff on YouTube is good. Yeah. Grok Tua. Do we want a big recognized name for our films or to what? Yes, the scale is different, but do you obviously also understand that directing a movie, it probably wasn't done in a fucking vacuum? That other people probably helped with the fucking script and he directed it? There was probably a co-director. Like, the entire cast is gushing about how much they loved working with him and how great he was of a director. Like, also, I don't know if you guys ever done a student film. A film student will run that shit like the fucking Navy. They'll get a fucking feature film out of it. The quality sure can go up and down, but there are also young prodigies. Like, let's be serious. All right. All right, let's find a movie. I was something I feel like I was annoyed about that I was going to tell you guys about, but I don't remember what it was. Of a small budget they had, she was able to make the Vision Broads work. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. While I'm looking for videos. Oh, have you guys seen, there's a video in the thumbnail that I don't think we've ever shown. But it's a very famous YouTube version of this. We're watching Chezoid today. Hold on. Give me the video. Give me... There we go. Okay. Huzzah.
Of Volgograd, Russia, there stands an unremarkable looking apartment building. At first glance, there's nothing unusual about it, but for several years now, one particular apartment has sparked confusion and unease among local residents. The reason? A mysterious blinking light that appears with uncanny consistency. Every single night, at exactly 10 p.m., a light in one of the windows on the 11th floor begins to flicker rhythmically, and it continues until precisely midnight. This has been happening day after day for 5 years.
So that's definitely a faulty light that just doesn't, like, okay.
Years straight, and it's still happening to this day.
Okay.
Imagine walking home every evening along the same route and noticing the same window flashing again and again, always at the same time. It doesn't feel like a random electrical issue.
It literally is.
It feels deliberate.
No.
Like a coded signal or some kind of ritual. Strange? Absolutely. And more than a little unsettling. Most passersby dismissed it or chalked it up to faulty wiring, but one internet user, going by the nickname Medic Paranoic, decided to take it seriously. He began monitoring the window regularly and confirmed that the flickering occurred every night at the exact same time, lasting 2 hours without fail. What's more, he claimed that each morning the apartment's curtains were tightly drawn, as if the residents didn't want anyone looking in. What made the situation even more disturbing was that, from time to time, a human silhouette would appear in the window. It would linger only for a couple of seconds, just long enough to seem like someone was peering out, scanning the street. Once, Medic Paranoic even noticed camera-like flashes coming from the window, suggesting that someone might have been taking photos of people outside. But what made this story stand out wasn't just the strange occurrences, it was how the investigator approached it. Unlike others who speculated online, Medic Paranoic shared the exact address with the public and encouraged people to see it for themselves. Krasnoznamenskaya 7, Volgograd.
Don't do this shit. Don't do this shit. That's psychotic. Hey, we're gonna dox this building. Because what if you find the one idiot that's like, this is a sign, there's a girl locked in there, you know? That's
Anyone could pull it up on a map and see that the building and window were real. His post quickly gained traction, and several users from Volgograd reported witnessing the same strange flickering. But Medic Paranoic didn't stop there. He decided to investigate in person. His first attempt was unsuccessful. He was stopped at the entrance by a security guard who refused to let him in, so he regrouped and came back better prepared. This time, he came up with a believable cover story, claiming that his uncle was looking to rent an apartment in the building. Using this pretext, he found a real rental listing for a unit in the same building and was able to enter without suspicion. As he explored the hallways, he noticed something odd. Only on the 11th floor, where the strange apartment was located, there was a security camera pointed at the corridor. None of the other floors had cameras at all. Eventually, he located the apartment in question and, without hesitation, rang the doorbell. After 3 or 4 rings, a man finally answered. His voice was rough and raspy, like someone who had smoked for years. Medic Paranoic estimated he was around 45 to 50 years old. The conversation began politely, but quickly took a strange turn when Medic Paranoic asked directly about the blinking light. There was a pause on the other end, an awkward silence, like the man was scrambling for an explanation. He finally replied that it was due to a wiring problem and claimed it was nothing serious.
Why is this a whole
Not
section
convinced,
of this video?
Medic Paranoic pressed further, asking whether the flickering didn't bother him. After all, it had been going on for years. The man responded that it didn't bother him at all. The conversation ended without incident, but according to Medic Paranoic, it left more questions than answers.
Yeah, 'cause you're crazy.
Interestingly, that night, the window remained completely dark. No flickering at all. But starting the very next night,
he realized someone was fucking watching him.
Blinking resumed, except now, the pattern had changed. It was almost as if someone had realized they were being watched.
Literally.
Medic Paranoic now lives in St. Petersburg, but a friend of his who still resides in Volgograd claims that...
Let's say hypothetically it was spy communications. Sure. What would be the message? What would be it's not Morse code. There's no frequency.
That the light continues to blink to this day. No one has ever been able to provide a clear explanation for what's share your
This is stupid.
On November 20th, a video began rapidly spreading online, recorded inside a hotel in Spain, where a group of friends encountered a strange issue with the elevator.
Okay, so it's been doing this for a minute.
None of the buttons are lit up.
Nothing out there.
You didn't light a button. Press a button.
Ah, yeah, Sergio. Ascensor.
Press a button.
Man,
None of the buttons are lit up.
You need to hit that gem.
Press a button. Press a button. Press a button.
You wanna
Yeah.
figure it out?
Yeah.
Why are you okay?
No, that did something. That did something.
Don't need to press all of them.
I don't know.
What is going on?
Are we too heavy? Is there someone there? What the?
For some unknown reason, it refused to take them to their floor. This wasn't the first time it had happened, and from the outside...
I do recommend if this happens to you, you should get out of the elevator because there could be something wrong with it and you could become entrapped. My building's elevator does this from time to time where it like won't open properly or it won't go up or anything like that. And I usually have to like trick the elevator into opening the door so I don't get stuck inside of it. I recommend that.
Everything seemed normal. At first, they assumed it was just a minor malfunction. The elevator responded to button presses, but its behavior was clearly off. While the atmosphere started to feel eerie, it was still easy to believe it was just a technical glitch. What made the situation more unsettling was the fact that other guests at the hotel had reported the exact same problem. According to the hotel staff, this was something that occurred fairly often, and no one could give a clear explanation as to why. What made things even more confusing was that the 16th floor, where the elevator kept trying to go, was under renovation, meaning no guests were staying there, and technically, the elevator shouldn't have been going up there at all. But just a day or two after the first incident, something even stranger happened. The elevator started acting up again, suddenly coming to a halt. That's when it became clear there had been a power outage.
Yo, so this elevator is acting mad weird. We started a few floors up.
Sorry, these are so boring. And this is why you get out of the fucking elevator.
No.
After putting a little girl named Max to bed, a nanny named Soph Clayton began experiencing a series of strange events in the house.
the
A few
fuck?
years ago, she went viral on TikTok and Instagram after posting a series of eerie videos documenting what happened next.
Hate
Guys,
this.
I'm babysitting and I just found the creepiest thing. Look at this. What is that? Oh my god. No, but what is it? It's so creepy. It's freaking me out. Is this real hair? Oh my god. And look.
Girl, that's
It all
hers.
started when
Don't
she
play
came
with that.
across a disturbing doll standing with its face pressed against the wall. It looked as if the doll was silently counting, almost like playing a game of
this.
hide and seek. What made it even creepier was that there were two such dolls,
What?
each with a small bell hanging from its waist for some unknown.
Hi, when I agreed to nanny, I did not agree to a fucking death game. Can you get home so I can fucking leave? Thank you.
Reason.
Guys, I just came in to make dinner and look what I found. Another one.
Girl, did you not see these?
Oh my gosh. It's a boy this time. Oh my god. Why would you look at that? Why would anyone have this in their house?
Slingshot is killing me.
Honestly, it's the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Later, Soph discovered yet another doll, this time resembling a boy.
I hate
She
this
couldn't
voiceover.
understand why anyone would keep something like that in their home. According to her, it was one of the creepiest things she had ever seen. In the video,
Sorry, I'm changing it because I hate that, what's it called? I hate that voiceover. Loud.
Hey, Officer Police! Stop! Come here. You guys said this is your vehicle? Yeah. What's going on? Come here. Come out of the woods.
At around
Come out of the
3:30
woods is
that
great.
morning, officers from the Austin Police Department were patrolling near the 700 block of
Come out of the
AY
woods.
Morton Road, a quiet stretch bordering a public park. During the patrol, officers located a stolen vehicle parked nearby and requested a tow truck to recover it. Senior Officer Adam Reinhardt
The
remained on
police.
scene to supervise the tow while the other units continued their patrol. The area was calm and silent until two figures suddenly emerged from the darkness near the tree line. They were later identified as Kay Smith and her boyfriend, Brandon Thompson. Officer Reinhardt issued a standard command, instructing them to show their
Can I be honest? When your hair gets to this stage, just shave it. Just shave it. It's gone, bro. Stop holding it out. Holding on to it. Growing it out. It never works. You can see where he tried to do a comb over. Just shave it.
hands. What followed unfolded in seconds.
I need to go get my other shoes on.
No, you guys can come out of the woods real quick. Come over here. You're detained. You're not free to go.
Is she?
I can't fucking see anything.
I know. That's why I got my flashlight. Get your hand out of your pocket, man.
Other shoes on.
No, you guys can come out of the woods real quick. Come over here. You're detained. You're not free to go. I know. That's why I got my flashlight. Get your hand out of your pocket, man.
What?
Get your hand out of your pocket.
Sorry?
David 11, shots fired, shots fired. I have two down. I'm hit.
Without warning, Thompson, 30 years old and previously known to police for drug-related and theft charges, many of which had been dismissed, pulled out a handgun. In a shocking act, he turned the weapon on Smith and shot her once in the back of the head.
What?
Almost immediately after, he fired at Officer Reinhardt, striking him before fleeing toward the nearby brush. Despite being wounded, Reinhardt returned fire as backup units rushed toward the scene. Emergency responders arrived and transported both Smith and Reinhardt to the hospital. Smith remained in critical condition. Doctors worked to save her life, but after a week on life support, she was pronounced dead on September 17th. Officer Reinhardt underwent surgery and ultimately survived his injuries. But the shooting triggered
It's never the dirtbag that dies.
a massive citywide response. SWAT teams, K-9 units and police helicopters were deployed, and residents in surrounding neighborhoods were ordered to shelter in place. Meanwhile, Thompson, injured and attempting to evade capture, tried to force his way into a nearby home. The homeowner, armed and aware of the unfolding situation, confronted him and fired in self-defense, striking Thompson in the arm and leg. Thompson was taken into custody at the scene and transported to the hospital under police supervision.
And this is one of the reasons I don't trust men.
He now faces multiple serious charges,
Yeah, you're a psycho.
including first-degree
What the fuck
murder
was
for the
that?
death of Kay Smith,
Were you gonna
attempted
kill her the
capital
whole
murder
time
of a
and you were
peace
pissed the
officer,
cop found
and
it?
burglary. He remains held without bond in the Travis County Jail while awaiting trial. In the weeks that followed, public attention turned toward Thompson's criminal history. Records showed multiple prior cases that had been dismissed or reduced under Travis County's more lenient prosecution policies, reigniting debate over whether earlier intervention could have prevented this outcome. What began as a routine patrol tied to a stolen vehicle ended with one woman dead, an officer nearly losing his life, and an entire neighborhood locked down in fear. While Officer Reinhardt survived and the homeowner's actions prevented further harm, critical questions remain unanswered, most notably
I'm sorry,
why Thompson
again.
shot his girlfriend.
We're going back to chilling scares. They're at least consistent.
For a very short period of my life, I want to say it was around the time I was the
Was
age
it
of
Chilling
15 or
Scares?
16. I lived in a fairly small house in
I
Vermont.
don't want story time.
My
I
family
want
didn't live-
videos. Rabbit holes.
UFC walkout photo. On October 18th, 2025, a UFC Fight Night match between
2025.
Brendan Allen and Ryanair de Ritter in Vancouver went viral across the internet. But not because of the fight itself. Instead, the moment that caught everyone's attention happened during Brendan's walkout.
Sorry,
A small
Sly Boo.
handful of people noticed that as he was making his way to the octagon, a fan flashed his phone to the camera for a split second, showing what looked like a very disturbing image. What a lot of people thought was the picture of a lifeless body lying on the ground.
What?
What made this already creepy incident even more disturbing was when the camera moved a bit further and showed the person who was holding the phone. He was wearing a luchador-inspired wrestling mask, likely to hide his identity, all while looking directly at the camera with an unsettling, almost psychotic smile on his face. Which begs the question, what was this picture, and why did he show it on live TV to an audience of millions? Reverse image searching the picture on the phone doesn't bring up any similar results,
Looks
and
like
no
a
one has been
man
able to
in
link it
makeup.
to some movie or TV show either. In other words, the person holding the phone likely took the picture themselves. And judging from what it looks like, the most disturbing explanation that comes to mind is that the man in the luchador mask had killed the person in the photo. The person appeared to have heavy bruises, including black eyes and possibly a bloody mouth.
No, it looks like
Even if they were
makeup.
alive, they appeared to be in serious danger, possibly after being kidnapped by the perpetrator.
That
And
looks
while this
like
might sound
makeup.
absurd at first, it's definitely a real possibility to consider. There have been countless killers throughout history who craved attention and deliberately left behind clues to become famous. Maybe this particular killer thought showing off their crime on TV was the best way to receive that attention. And with the virality and discussion online, he certainly achieved that goal. On a similar note, this could also be a ransom kidnapping situation, where the stunt was meant to publicly prove the victim was still alive to their family, especially since sending the photo directly would risk law enforcement tracing it back to the kidnappers.
Sorry?
That said, there are a few notable innocent theories suggesting the opposite that have likely kept law enforcement from conducting any real investigation. Some have suggested that this was nothing more than a prank. As a user on Reddit speculated, "To me, it looks like some college-aged guy laying on a bathroom floor with makeup on.
Yeah,
Could
it
be
could
a
be
dude
like a
who got
drunk
so
buddy
drunk
and he
his mates
left
decided to mess
he
with him by
lost a bet
drawing
or
on his
something.
face or putting makeup on him, then took a picture. One of them decided to shame him even further by flashing it at the UFC when he knew the cameras would be broadcasting." It's also possible that it could be a deliberate attempt to create a creepy hoax, especially since it happened fairly close to Halloween. Cropping out just the phone and brightening up the image also makes it look a bit more like a regular photo. Some argue that now it looks like a man simply sunbathing on an outdoor lounge chair with a pool in the background. But why would someone be motivated to show something like this if it really was an innocent picture? At the end of the day, all of these theories are just guesses, and any number of things could really be going on here, innocent or disturbing. Because the masked man's identity was never revealed, we will likely never know for sure.
In 2025, that's insane to me.
Buried alive in Brazil. In January 2018, a 37-year-old Brazilian woman named Rosangela Almeida was going about her day when she suddenly collapsed out of nowhere. She was rushed to the hospital where doctors found that she had experienced 2 cardiac arrests.
Oh,
she was
did
in
she get
critical
buried?
condition and eventually passed
Did
away
she
on
get
January
buried?
28 after barely clinging
She
to
got
life for
buried
a few
alive
days in
in
the
the coffin, didn't
ICU.
she?
Her family held a memorial
was
service
put
for
to
her
rest
that
in the
evening,
coffin,
and she was
wasn't
buried in the
she?
Sonora Santana Cemetery near her hometown.
Oof.
Her remains were placed in a wooden casket which was encased in a solid concrete tomb. Losing her at such a young age was devastating for her family, and especially her mother. What none of them knew, however, was that their grief was about to take a dark, tragic turn.
God.
You see, a day after her burial, reportedly, people living next to the cemetery started hearing noises from graves. These included the sound of someone banging their hands against a hard surface, as well as a faint scream in some instances. However, the neighbors initially brushed off the noises as a prank by children, something that apparently happened often enough for them to ignore the noises entirely. But several days passed and the sounds did not stop.
Oh,
It wasn't
God.
until 11 days later that someone realized that the sounds were coming directly from Rosangela's grave. The neighbors immediately alerted her family upon making this discovery, fearing that she might have been falsely declared deceased and was still alive when buried. What made the situation even more concerning was the fact that Rosangela had been suffering from fainting spells ever since she was
my
little.
fucking God.
The time
Please
she
tell me
spent
she's
unconscious
alive.
had also
She's
been
not
increasing
alive,
over
is
the
she?
years. Maybe she was just passed out when the hospital
the
staff
fucking-
incorrectly
skip
declared her
ahead.
dead.
Open the grave.
Family, friends, and
Open the
neighbors
grave.
rushed to the cemetery and opened her coffin, hoping to save her, with some people
Oh, God,
recording
she
the
was
whole
gone,
event.
wasn't she?
Sadly, Rosangela was showing no signs of life. However, the people who touched her body exclaimed that she was still a bit warm to the touch, implying that she was at least alive up until very recently. Later reports also claimed that the nails in the coffin were looser than they were when she was buried, and that there were injuries on her wrists and blood marks on the inside of the coffin that weren't present before. Even the pieces
I
of
hate this
cotton
so
placed in
much.
her nose and ears were knocked out. Most importantly, witnesses reported that she didn't seem nearly decomposed enough for someone who had died 11 days earlier. After the casket was exhumed, Rosangela was taken back to a nearby hospital where she was pronounced dead for a second time and buried once again. The question everyone had on their mind, however, was whether she was buried alive the
It sounds like she was buried alive the first fucking... I'm sorry, if you get multiple reports of someone of yelling... I don't give a fuck if it happens all the time. Investigate. God. Fucking horrifying. Jesus.
first
Horrifying.
time. Her family, and particularly her mother, believed that was the case. Testimony from other people also seemed to back this conclusion, with one neighbor stating, "There were more than 500 people who came here and packed the cemetery. Everybody went to see. Lots of people touched her foot, and everybody saw that she was still warm. She wasn't cold."
That's
Now,
horrifying.
there are countless real stories of people tragically getting buried alive by accident, with many eventually passing away in the coffins before they could be rescued. And while the vast majority of these stories are from before we had modern medical tech, errors still do happen to this day. Just a few years ago, a Chinese woman was declared dead and sent to the funeral home before being discovered to be still alive. So, the idea of the same thing happening to Rosangela was a real possibility, especially when we consider the fainting spells she experienced her whole life. However, despite all the reports and supposed evidence, both the doctors and investigators stayed adamant that she had passed away before
Yeah,
her burial.
no shit.
In a
'cause of
statement
course,
to the
then
media,
you're
the
off
doctor
scot-free.
explained
Then
that
you're
she
not
was
the
already in a
asshole to
serious,
investigate.
irreversible
Then you're not
condition
the
when she
medical
arrived at the
malpractice
hospital.
fucks.
From there, she was put under an intense level of monitoring to observe all her vitals closely. So, there was no way he could have falsely assumed her to be dead under those conditions. As for the slower decomposition, that was explained by the result of her being on strong antibiotics while she was in the hospital. But these
call
explanations failed to convince Rosangela's mother, who was devastated by the thought of her daughter enduring days of suffering buried in her casket. The case also became major news across Brazil, with many even accusing the police of not doing a proper investigation to protect the hospital and the doctors. So, what really happened? Was Rosangela actually buried alive? From everything I was able to find, it's not likely. For instance, many people reported her body being warm to the touch after opening the casket, suggesting she was alive up until recently. However, even if we assume that she was buried alive, there's no way she would have had enough air in the tomb to stay alive for 11 days straight. Giving it the benefit of the doubt, let's assume there was a hole somewhere in the tomb big enough to let fresh air in. Even then, it's near impossible for her to stay alive.
I think that because if you saw how it was when they took the concrete out, the concrete could have been porous enough that it didn't actually, because it looks like it was like built, and then they sealed the tomb at the end. There could have been a gap that was letting some air in. They did say that the top of the casket was loose from where the nails were, where she had been nailed into the casket. So she has the oxygen of the casket and then the oxygen of the tomb itself, okay? So that could have given her more time. Probably still not, 5-6 days, but it probably would have given her more time than just say 72 hours.
Without water for long, all while screaming and banging on the coffin. Speaking of which, the investigators also claimed that they didn't find anyone who personally heard the noises, implying that it was nothing more than a rumor. That said, the details surrounding the case, like the reports of wrist injuries and blood marks, are still a bit murky to reach a solid conclusion. Whether or not Rosangela was actually buried alive is still, and will likely remain, unknown. The Wikipedia edit. WWE wrestler Chris Benoit was scheduled for a live house show on Saturday, June 23, 2007 in Texas. But hours before the event, the 40-year-old wrestler called management and claimed that he wouldn't be able to make it because both his wife and son were ill with food poisoning. But he didn't show up the next day and wasn't picking up his phone either. After over 24 hours of trying to contact him, the WWE management dialed 911 and requested a wellness check for Chris on Monday, June 25, assuming that maybe he was sick as well and needed help. However, nothing could have prepared the officers that were dispatched to his home for the tragedy they were about to witness. They arrived at his house in Georgia at around 2:30 p.m. and rang the bell. When no one answered, they looked for a way inside and discovered the garage door was wide open. The whole house was eerily silent, the reason for which became apparent when they discovered the remains of Chris, his wife, and his son scattered throughout the house. And as it turned out, the person responsible for this tragedy was Chris himself. He ended the lives of both his wife and son before turning on himself. The question now was why? Why would Chris do such a thing? But before the investigators could answer that question, they received a tip that challenged everything they thought they knew about this case. They were contacted by a Wikipedia representative who claimed that someone had made a suspicious edit to the Chris Benoit Wikipedia page at 12:01 a.m. over 14 hours before police did the welfare check. The edit read, Chris Benoit was replaced by Johnny Nitro for the ECW Championship match at Vengeance, as Benoit was not there due to personal issues stemming from the death of his wife Nancy. The thing about Wikipedia is that it's a social collaboration platform where anyone can add new info or make edits. One possible explanation was that Chris, for some reason, made this edit himself. However, the autopsy report revealed that Chris had actually ended everything by Sunday evening, many hours before the edit. So, how did someone learn about what had happened before the news broke out? The possibilities were endless. Maybe he had a second accomplice, or maybe he told someone about what he had done earlier. Tracing his phone revealed that he had sent 5 cryptic messages to 2 of his colleagues, Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Scott Armstrong, including one message that he sent 4 times, reading, My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane, Fayetteville, Georgia. And the second one that read, The dogs are in the enclosed pool area. Garage side door is open. These were sent just before 4 a.m. on Sunday, after he had already taken the lives of his wife and son. However, despite their unsettling nature, investigators didn't find any connection between what Chris did and the colleagues he sent these messages to. As for why he did it, the autopsy...
It could be not... If it is CTE, which it sounds like they're going to talk about, not in his right mind, realizing what he did after the fact and being like, I only have one option now, and it's to end his own life is what he decides. So he calls other people like, hey, here's where the dogs are, Autopsy report also revealed that Chris had CTE, which is a progressive brain disease linked to repeated head impacts. His brain resembled that of an 85-year-old with dementia. Put simply, he likely experienced an extreme mental breakdown which resulted in an irreversible tragedy. However, while this reveal explained most of what happened, the Wikipedia edit was still a mystery. This mystery deepened further when investigators managed to trace the IP address that was used to make the edit and discovered that it was from Stamford, Connecticut, the location of the WWE headquarters. This, combined with the text messages, reignited rumors that WWE management might have been involved in what happened. But before the case could move in that direction, investigators found the man who made the edit, a 19-year-old university student named Matthew Greenberg. Matthew, however, was surprisingly cooperative. He allowed the police to confiscate his computer and other devices to investigate and agreed to an interrogation without any resistance.
And when asked about his edit, he claimed that he made it after seeing rumors of it on wrestling forums.
Well, over like last weekend, the wrestler Benoit, there was like rumors going on because he missed the pay-per-view and his scheduled dates, which he never does. And I was reading rumors and speculation online.
Where online?
Like on forums. I forgot the exact sites. But I was like.
Okay, hold on. On forums?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now what's a forum?
In any
Sorry.
chat rooms?
No, not chat rooms. I was just reading about it, and some rumors came up, and I just.
Yeah, what were the rumors?
That his his family was sick, or someone maybe died, like his wife perhaps, because he missed the pay-per-view.
Okay.
He was apparently telling the truth, as investigators didn't find a link between him and Chris. Wikipedia admins also found several other false edits he had made over the years, suggesting he was just an internet troll who guessed the truth by pure coincidence. Or at least that's the official story. Some believe that Matthew either had something to do with the incident or at least had insider information, especially since he wasn't the only one who made a similar edit. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that there was a second similar edit just 1 hour after Matthews was removed, stating that Chris missed his show because of the passing of Benoit's wife, Nancy. The IP for this edit was traced to Sydney, Australia, but the person who made it was never identified.
Yeah, it
for
was
some,
definitely,
this
a
is the
rumor,
confirmation
probably.
that what everyone knows about Chris isn't the whole story, and there was something else going on below the surface.
No.
On the other hand, the existence of this second edit could be used to prove Matthew's innocence. As they suggest, the rumors were genuinely circulating on wrestling forums, since two seemingly unrelated people attempted the same change. That said, it's been more than 18 years since this incident. So even if there was something deeper behind it, at this point it's unlikely to be revealed. Sunset Cruise. The final days of May 2023 were meant to be a celebration for 18-year-old Cameron Robbins, a recent high school graduate from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
This is the shark video, isn't it? Is this the shark video? I believe he either jumped off the boat or his friends dared him. Yeah, so he was on a graduation boat, if this is the one I'm thinking of. There was a party, and he jumped off the boat either because he was drunk or he decided to go swimming, whatever. And there's a lot of bull sharks in the area. Bull sharks are one of the... I think they're the most recorded shark attacks against humans in shallow waters. There's the video, you can see at one point, he looks to jerk away from where the life raft is being thrown to him. And you see what appears to be a fin kind of flicking at water. They tried to find him. They never recovered his body. They did what they could, but it was basically determined that he was lost to sharks. This was, I believe, here in the United States.
He was on a celebratory cruise in the Bahamas with several
Never mind,
hundred
in the
fellow
Bahamas.
graduates. The festivities, however, took a devastating turn on the evening of May 24th, leading to a mystery that the internet is still debating to this day. At around 9:30 p.m., Cameron was aboard the small cruise ship named the Blackbeard's Revenge near the uninhabited Athol Island, northwest of Nassau. The ship was stocked with alcohol, and since the legal drinking age in the Bahamas is 18, Cameron and his friends were drinking non-stop. But as they were enjoying their time on the cruise, someone reportedly dared Cameron to take a leap off the ship into the dark water. Cameron, likely due to heavy intoxication, agreed to the dare instantly and jumped overboard, resulting in one of his friends recording this video using Snapchat.
Yo! This kid jumped off! Oh my...
You can see
God.
next to him. So you guys couldn't see it there, but over here you could see what looks to be something swimming nearby him.
Oh, bye-bye! Oh, yeah. Grab the buoy!
It would explain why, even drunk, he swam away from the buoy as if he saw the shark.
This was, unfortunately, the last time anyone saw Cameron alive. The cruise stopped as quickly as it could, and the crew alerted the Coast Guard about Cameron's disappearance. However, despite an extensive 2-day-long search of a 325 square mile area, Cameron was nowhere to be found. He more than likely passed away not long after jumping overboard. but even his remains were never discovered, which, considering the extensive search, was very odd. And the reason for it, according to some, is that he was attacked by a shark shortly after his jump. This theory began when someone noticed what looked like a large fish swimming toward Cameron seconds after he landed in the water. Moments later, Cameron could also be seen swimming in the opposite direction while ignoring the life preserver.
He's looking over this way as he's pushing himself that way.
Right in front of him, almost as if he saw the shark and was trying to get away from it. That said, the evidence supporting this theory is a bit inconsistent. On the one hand, the shark population in the Bahamas is quite healthy. These cruise ships often throw food waste overboard as well, likely causing the local marine life to associate them with food. So it's possible that a shark was following the ship and immediately swam over to Cameron to investigate as soon as it heard him hit the water. Additionally, many sharks also hunt at night, making shark attacks on humans much more likely. However, while this shows that a shark attack...
Here in California, we're often told growing up to not swim once it gets dark and you can't see the next wave past the first one, because that's when the sharks are out.
Was a possibility,
Even
it
if they're
doesn't
not coming
outright
in that
prove
shallow,
it,
but
especially
still.
when the evidence indicating the opposite is just as strong. For starters, the phone video that started this theory is extremely low resolution and blurry. What people interpret as a shark could very well be just a wave reflecting the ship's light. Cameron swimming away from the life preserver can also be explained by him being intoxicated and getting disoriented after hitting the water. Most importantly, while the Bahamas had...
I disagree, because he looks up at the boat. He waves at them at one point. He jumps in and he acknowledges the front of the boat. So even if he's confused, he acknowledged that if someone or people are yelling at him, there's a life raft. He saw it get thrown in. I do think, I believe the shark theory, frankly.
Has plenty of sharks. Their numbers around Athol Island specifically are extremely low, making the chances of Cameron being attacked by one even lower. A more straightforward explanation for Cameron's disappearance is the
Oh, sorry. Nope, fuck.
combined effect of exhaustion and environmental factors. Even in the warm climate of the Bahamas, prolonged exposure to water at night can quickly lead to hypothermia. The average sea temperature around the Bahamas in late May is certainly survivable for a short time, but the physical stress of jumping from a significant height, coupled with the immediate panic and exertion of swimming in the dark, open sea, would rapidly diminish a person's physical and mental capacity. Cameron was also seen swimming initially, but his direction appeared erratic. Even a strong swimmer can quickly become disoriented and exhausted when facing strong currents, and the immediate onset of psychological terror of being alone in the vast ocean darkness. Not to mention the fact that Cameron was highly intoxicated, turning the already difficult task of surviving in those waters into a near impossibility. And while the definitive cause of Cameron's death, whether by exhaustion, hypothermia, a shark encounter, or a drowning accident remains unknown, what is clear is the tragedy of a young life cut short so abruptly, with the incident serving as a stark reminder of the inherent danger.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how often people get lost at sea, how often people die at sea. Even historically. I was reading something recently about pirates and how they would often wear earrings that had a name engraved in them, their name, and the earring would be heavy enough, it would be worth enough that it could be sold to ship their bodies home. That's in case their body washed up somewhere. The earrings could be used to ship their bodies home.
Danger of the open sea, particularly at night.
I think it's a shark, frankly.
The Mad Gasser of Mattoon. On the night of September...
The other thing is, too, is I believe that someone else from the boat later said we had been seeing sharks in the area before it got dark. If I'm remembering correctly. It's not mentioned here.
September 1st,
But I believe some people on the ship, because it was a lot of the graduate. It was like a group of graduates. It was like some school trip thing in the Bahamas, and they multiple students were like, we had seen a shark in the water at some point, which is why a lot of them believed it was sharks.
1944, a woman in the small town of Mattoon, Illinois named Aline Carney woke up smelling a sickening sweet odor in her bedroom at around 11 p.m. She dismissed the odor at first, thinking it was just the scent of flowers drifting in from outside her open window, but the sweetness soon became suffocatingly intense. She tried to get out of bed to investigate, but collapsed to the floor as soon as she stood up. That's when she realized she had no feeling in her arms or legs. The odor was also starting to cause a burning sensation on her lips and throat, making it difficult to even breathe. Seconds later, she also heard her daughter crying on the bed, asking why she couldn't move her arms or legs. Hearing this, Aline used all the strength she had to call for help, eventually getting the attention of her sister, who was sleeping in a different room. Her sister noticed the smell as well and determined that it was coming from the open bedroom window. She ran out to call the neighbors for help. Around the same time, Aline's husband, who was a taxi driver, pulled into the driveway. But before he could get out of his car, he was horrified to see a thin, tall figure standing outside the bedroom window. It was dressed in all black with what looked like a gas mask on its face and was holding a strange tubular device in its hand.
Sorry?
The husband tried to chase after it, but the figure disappeared.
What?
Peered into a nearby alleyway. Given what they knew, the family concluded that the sweet-smelling gas had been released into the bedroom by the mysterious figure, later dubbed the Mad Gasser of Mattoon by the local media. Aline and her daughter were able to recover without any permanent damage to their bodies. However, the attack on their home became the template for numerous similar incidents over the next 2 weeks. Victims, mostly women and often home alone or with family, would report being hit with an odorless gas or sometimes a sickly sweet smell. This was followed by a range of symptoms like nausea, vomiting, temporary paralysis, dizziness, disorientation, and a burning sensation in the throat or eyes.
What?
In some cases, the symptoms lasted for hours, requiring
Mad
medical
Gasser
attention.
of Mattoon.
Yet, despite the severity of these chemical attacks, any attempts to investigate the gasser came up empty. There was no visible damage to homes, no broken windows, and no fingerprints. The mysterious assailant seemed to vanish into thin air. Witnesses and victims reported seeing shadows or figures lurking outside their windows, specifically near the ventilation openings of their homes.
Sorry, I need to... Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Phantom anesthetist? Or simply the Mad Gasser was the name given to an event of an alleged mass hysteria in which a person or people allegedly committed a series of apparent gas attacks in Mattoon, Illinois during the mid-1940s. More than 24 separate cases of gassings were reported to police over the span of 2 weeks, in addition to many more reported sightings to the suspected assailant. The gasser's supposed victims reported smelling strange odors in their homes, which were soon followed by symptoms such as paralysis of the legs, coughing, nausea, and vomiting. No one died or had serious medical consequences as a result of the gas attacks. Police remained skeptical of the accounts throughout the entire, and of course they fucking did. ACAB even back then. Many reported gassings had simple explanations such as spilled nail polish or odors emanating from animals or local factories. Victims made quick recoveries from their symptoms and suffered no long-term effects. Nevertheless, local newspapers ran alarmist articles about the reported attacks and treated the accounts as fact. Although the explanation that the reports were only the case of a mass hysteria is widely accepted, others maintain that the Mad Gasser actually existed. I'm sorry, that woman's husband said he saw someone. On testimony of Mr. Burt Kearney of 1408 Marshall Avenue, the husband of the victim of the first Mattoon case to be reported by the media, his wife, who was the one claiming to be attacked, did not describe seeing a prowler. He described the gasser as being a tall, thin man dressed in dark clothing and wearing a tight-fitting cap. Another report made weeks later described the gasser as being a female dressed as a man. The gasser had also been described as carrying a flit gun, an agricultural tool for spraying pesticide, which reportedly used to expel the gas. Flit gun. Jesus. Anyways, I believe women. Because again, this is so many cases. Third reported attack. Being a woman dressed as a man. Footprints found at scene. I don't know.
but the police never found any evidence of it. The sheer volume of attacks, with at least 29 officially reported incidents in a very short span, combined with the inability of law enforcement to find any evidence, created an atmosphere of absolute terror. It reached a point where some citizens took it upon themselves to patrol the streets with firearms. People were sleeping in shifts, guarding their homes and neighbors. However, no matter how much people tried, a perpetrator was never identified or captured, leaving the Mad Gasser of Mattoon as an eerie, unsolved mystery. But it's worth asking whether these attacks by a chemical assailant were even real, or was the entire phenomenon an unprecedented wave of mass hysteria? The argument for it being a real assailant rests almost entirely on the initial medical findings and specifically of the reported symptoms. In the first few cases, doctors and police were genuinely convinced that a real chemical agent had been deployed. The victim's symptoms like paralysis, nausea, and the burning sensation were too consistent and too severe to be immediately dismissed as simple panic. On the other hand, the argument for this being a case of mass hysteria is incredibly compelling. It's also the theory favored by many criminologists and psychologists who have reviewed the case since. As the theory goes, while it's possible that the few initial incidents might have involved a real criminal, the vast majority of the 29 reported attacks were likely the result of psychological contagion. The terror of a mysterious, invisible attacker, amplified by continuous sensational newspaper coverage, made people hypersensitive to any strange smell or discomfort. Many of the reported symptoms, for example,
cases, but the first ones, sure, anything past, because we have August 31st. Okay, this was the one reported to the media, but these ones were reported earlier. Okay, so then these people were reported, she experienced this, then they reported. Sure, I would. Smelling cloth found on porch. Oof. Saw blue vapor and heard a motorized buzzing sound believed to be from gassing machinery. Ooh. Sure, some could be fake, but all of them? Especially, why would any of these, if these were not reported, then like this one, which is the one where they claim to have saw him, why would this, unless they're all speaking about it, but these are all on the same days. I would need to see a map of the distance between these. Paranoia is a big thing.
Like headaches, nausea, anxiety, and difficulty breathing are also symptoms of acute anxiety or hyperventilation, a common reaction to extreme fear. Police searches also attributed the chemical odors found to common household cleaners, furnace gas leaks, or industrial pollution that was a regular part of life near Mattoon's industrial plants. A major breakthrough for the hysteria theory came when the Mattoon police publicly stated that the attacks weren't real and were likely caused by the community's war anxiety around World War II at the time and a collective nervous breakdown. And to everyone's surprise, the Mad Gasser of Mattoon attacks stopped almost immediately after the police released this statement. Ultimately, the case is left suspended between a real chemical criminal and a genuine mass panic. There is a possibility that the story began with one or two initial genuine attacks using a non-lethal irritant, which then acted as the trigger for a widespread case of what is medically known as mass psychogenic illness, where symptoms and fear spread rapidly throughout a community without an identifiable physical cause. But at this point, we will likely never know. Anuncio Inteligente. Back in 2019, a user named Raul made a disturbing post that would go on to be shared over 20,000 times and receive tens of thousands of likes and reactions. The post was originally made in Spanish, so you'll have to bear with me if the translation isn't perfect, but hopefully you'll get the main idea. The post was titled Anuncio Inteligente, which translates from Spanish to smart ad, and it read, "Something super strange just happened to me. I was watching YouTube videos on my smart TV when suddenly an ad appeared, as usually happens on YouTube. I was about to skip it when I suddenly saw this ad lasted more than 5 hours. I was really surprised and told my dad to come so he could see how long it lasted. I took a picture while I waited for my dad to arrive. The girl in the ad kept on talking, and when my dad arrived, she turned her gaze toward him. Even my dad jokingly said that she was watching him. My dad and I stood in front of the TV, the girl fell silent, and we felt like she was looking at both of us. We kept thinking it was impossible for her to see us. It wasn't a video call or anything like that, it was just a simple YouTube ad. It was simply impossible for her to see us. We laughed at how silly it all sounded. The girl kept on talking, but suddenly she got closer to the screen and we started to feel a bit scared and uncomfortable. My dad wanted to test if she was watching us, so he said the word Changa a few times, and that's when the unthinkable happened. The Asian girl said Changa. At that moment, we got scared and I looked for the remote to skip the ad. My dad and I decided that we were very tired. It had been a long and tiring day, but we still couldn't ignore what had happened, so we turned off the TV. My questions are, what the heck just happened? Do TVs have cameras? If so, then I think it's possible for them to watch you. And lastly, was YouTube hacked? This incident scared both my dad and me. If anyone has gone through something like this, I'd like to hear your story. This was mine. Although the original post has since been deleted, it's been reposted a few times by Mexican broadcasting networks on Facebook, which has allowed a few YouTubers and Redditors to keep the story alive for 5 years as of the uploading of this video. From the moment it was uploaded, the post received pretty much every kind of reaction you can imagine, from those who called Raul out for lying on the internet to get attention, to those who claimed they had been through something similar, and everything in between. As for whether the post was real or not, 5 years after the original upload, it's still anyone's guess. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to place 2 to 3 hour long ads on YouTube. As for how effective these ads are at converting viewers into buyers, I can't really say, but the fact remains that it's technically possible Raul really did see a 5 hour long YouTube ad back in 2019. One thing that many Reddit users were quick to point out, however, is that YouTube ads need to be uploaded in a specific format to be accepted and rolled out by the platform. And it goes without saying that a 5 hour long live call where the creator of the ad spies on the viewer and interacts with them would violate pretty much every single law and regulation out there. Still, that in itself is probably not enough information to officially label Raul's post as fake, as he was apparently not the only person who complained about this kind of thing happening to him that year. Through my research, I found several Redditors who pointed out that they had seen similar posts by other users on Reddit crop up sporadically in 2019, where people claimed they had been shown an unusually long ad that appeared to interact with them in real time. If the allegations are true, it's possible that what happened to Raul could have been a part of a massive hacking epidemic targeting smart TVs rather than YouTube itself, which the hacking of smart TVs isn't that uncommon. It's actually not that hard for a hacker to gain access to your smart TV's microphone and camera through certain malware, which is why if you look deep enough online, you'll find literally hundreds of complaints by users who claimed they were spied on through their smart TVs. Disturbingly, some users have even mentioned that hackers have blackmailed them through their smart TV, threatening to expose private footage of them to the world if they don't comply with their demands. But coming back to the smart ad story, this also doesn't necessarily mean that the post was real, and to this day, hundreds of Redditors have assumed that Raul was probably just straight up lying for clicks and attention. Unfortunately, because the post and so many of the original comments have been deleted, we'll likely never know. Do what? Portishead is a trip-hop band from Bristol, UK that was formed back in the 90s. Some of their music videos on YouTube have gone pretty viral, with one of them even getting close to 40 million views since it was uploaded in 2016. But over the years, there's been one particular music video that's become the subject of a ton of speculation and drama on YouTube and Reddit, and probably not for the reasons you might think. The music video in question is for the song titled Only You, and at first glance, there's nothing too different than what you'd probably expect from a band of this genre.
NordVPN.
But if you scroll down far enough into the comments section, you'll find something a little strange.
Okay.
A user named DoWhat made thousands upon thousands of comments on this single video over several months, starting in December 2018. Sometimes DoWhat would comment hundreds of times in a single day. What immediately comes off as weird is that most of the user's comments appear to be random, angry rants directed toward a particular person or group of people. Sometimes it even looks like he's having a long, drawn-out conversation with himself.
This is just one of my reply guys replying to my stories in my Instagram DMs. Like this, yeah, they do that all the time.
Through a YouTube comment section. I can't include some of the comments because they get pretty explicit, but you can probably get the idea just by looking at a few of them.
My reply guys
One
do
of them
too.
reads, "Heaven, yeah sure, and yet you still left me here. Well, you won't be going back and I sure as hell won't take you there." Another one reads, "Nothing you say or have said means a damn thing when you spoiled evil demons live the way you do."
Yeah,
period.
this sounds so familiar.
At first, none of the comments seemed to make any sense, but after reading a lot of them, I realized there was a pattern. Although a lot of the angry rants are pretty vague, and a lot of them Duwat appears to be directing his or her anger toward the band in the music video itself, often claiming that the whole idea behind the songs and videos that made the band rich were stolen from Duwat, who allegedly ended up getting no credit at all. Again, I can't include those due to the language, but some have suggested that this is the main reason why the user chose this particular video to dump thousands and thousands of angry comments on. As you can probably guess, a lot of people have tried to interact with Duwat over the years, leading to some pretty disturbing conversations in which the commenter claims he's some sort of interdimensional being with the ability to speak to people on different timelines, or something like that. Even though most of his comments are pretty difficult to understand, in a few of them, Duwat has repeatedly claimed to be a female, living in a homeless shelter, and to be receiving messages from some sort of godlike creature who is guiding her to save humanity from destruction, or something. Due to how often Duwat was posting back in 2018 and 2019, many people have suggested that the only way it's possible for so many comments to be coming from a single account is if Duwat was a bot. But others have claimed that because Duwat has edited their comments, the bot theory might not be the answer. As hard as it is to believe, everything seems to point to the fact that every single one of these comments was written individually by a real person, which has made a lot of people suggest that the user might be suffering from a pretty severe mental illness, or was simply looking for attention online and willing to go to extreme lengths to get it. But for Sad Satan. In 2015, a channel by the name of Obscure Horror Corner uploaded a series of videos featuring a playthrough of a horror game called Sad Satan that up until that point was never heard of before.
Okay.
The game itself is very strange, with a first-person character walking down dark, narrow hallways while some distorted audio plays in the background. At random points throughout the game, the player's screen gets invaded by random images, and overall it's a pretty dark and hard to understand game. In the months following the original uploads, the videos started gaining quite a bit of popularity, until eventually the blog and gaming reviews website Kotaku decided to interview the owner of the Obscure Horror Corner channel. In the interview, the channel owner mentioned that he first came across the game when an anonymous user provided him with a download link, which had allegedly come from the dark web. Shortly after, the owner of the Obscure Horror Corner's YouTube channel provided the download link to the Sad Satan game in a Reddit thread. However, several Redditors immediately called him out for providing a fake link, after which he claimed he gave away a fake link because he didn't want to be responsible for the real game being played by anyone, as it supposedly contained some very violent, dark, illegal, and disturbing images. While this was all happening, an anonymous 4chan user claiming to be the guy who gave the original Sad Satan link to Obscure Horror Corner revealed what he claimed was the original download link on the post. Disturbingly, this version of the game was stuffed with illegal, graphic content, gruesome gore, and viruses that allegedly made people's computers behave oddly and eventually crash permanently.
Fun.
Unfortunately, many users fell into the trap and apparently messed up their computers beyond repair. After the two links were spread everywhere online, a lot of people were left wondering where the footage from Obscure Horror Corner's channel had even come from in the first place. The most widely accepted theory nowadays is that Obscure Horror Corner probably made the game himself to bring more attention to his channel, and that the 4chan user made a corrupted copy to distribute illegal graphic material and mess up people's computers for no reason. It goes without saying that the illegal images the 4chan user included in the corrupted version of the game could have easily come from the dark web, as they would quickly get taken down if they were posted anywhere on the surface web. If you're going to go searching around the internet for more information on this rabbit hole, all I can say is whatever you do, do not click on any download links on random online forums. Intelsat 708, February 15, 1996. Back in the 90s, an American company named Space Systems Loral built a state-of-the-art telecommunications satellite named Intelsat 708, which contained some pretty sophisticated and sensitive communications and encryption technology. After it was built, the satellite was transported to China to be launched in 1996. During the launch preparations, it was agreed between the US and Chinese governments that Intelsat 708 would be launched into orbit from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center using China's Long March 3B launch vehicle, which was one of the world's most powerful rockets back then. It was also agreed that the launch would be broadcast live in the US. Just a little before 3 a.m. on February 15, 1996, the satellite was launched. And what happened next was nothing short of a tragedy. Just 2 seconds after the launch, the satellite started veering horizontally, taking a completely different trajectory than it was supposed to. A few seconds later, the rocket crashed in a residential area where many of the launch center's employees and other civilians lived. Shockingly, the crash caused an explosion that was reported to be equivalent to around 50 tons of TNT. Immediately, the Chinese military and members of the Loral security team were deployed to the crash site, and this is where things started to get a little weird. According to eyewitnesses, the Chinese military roped off the area immediately and didn't allow any Americans to approach the site until much later. In the aftermath of the crash, official figures in Chinese newspapers alleged that despite the massive explosion, only 6 people had died and 57 had been wounded, claiming that the death toll had been pretty limited because most of the people had been evacuated from the area before the launch. Still, based on the sheer amount of destruction, this death toll has always seemed unlikely to the US government, which suspected the Chinese military of cleaning out the crash site to hide the true death toll and to recover the satellite's sensitive encryption and communications technology. After American members of the Loral security team were finally...
Jesus. I want to see. 911 confessions. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
On the morning of August 26, 2015...
Let's see.
This is the last known photo of 12-year-old Jared Negretti, a self-portrait he snapped on July 19, 1991 after he was officially declared missing earlier that day. Jared was a member of the Boy Scouts, and July 19 was meant to be a milestone. It was his first overnight backpacking trip to the summit of Mount San Gorgonio, the highest peak in Southern California. Jared, alongside 5 fellow Boy Scouts and an adult troop leader, started the hike early in the morning. While the hike started off just as planned, the 11,000-foot ascent eventually took its toll on Jared specifically. He started to fall behind at around 6 p.m., unable to keep pace with the rest of the group. Determined to stick to the schedule, the group leader decided to go ahead with the other 5 kids and leave Jared behind. A choice.
So they call it the God, what is it? The California Marathon, the California trifecta or something. But basically, you go surfing in the morning. You then drive up the mountain to go snowboarding, and then you go for sunset in the mountains, or no, in the desert, I believe. Yes? What is it? Hold on. California Three-Way, is that it? California, beach, mountains, desert, yeah. Oh, the SoCal Challenge. I was making it too complicated. You do ocean, desert, mountain in one day. So it was dry, hot place. Well, Southern California is a desert, but up north, we most food for the country comes from our farmlands in Central California. And then NorCal, we have, like, I live an hour from the snow. In California, the snow, at least Southern California, the snow is something you can go to. I can drive to Big Bear. And I don't think there's snow up there right now because it's summertime, but like, that's a thing that we would do. Right now there's not snow because it's 80 degrees out, but you know, there are parts of the state that get snow.
He would come to regret for the rest of his life. Not long after, a different group of hikers saw Jared descending the mountain alone and doing so in a dangerously unsafe way by shortcutting the switchbacks. Which, for those who don't know, it means he was ignoring the zigzagging trail designed to safely navigate steep terrain and was instead heading straight down the slope. The hikers had warned Jared about the dangers of straying from the designated path and also made sure to inform the scout leader when they had caught up with the troop further up the mountain. The leader, however, shrugged off their concern, stating that they'd catch up with Jared on their way back. Unfortunately, by the time they came back, Jared was nowhere to be seen. It didn't take long for the troop to realize the gravity of the situation. They quickly descended to the base camp and managed to call for help around midnight, sparking one of the largest search and rescue missions in the region's history. Over the following days, rescue teams scoured a massive 130 square mile stretch of the San Gorgonio wilderness. but there was no sign of Jared anywhere. It wasn't until day 3 when they found their first clue, a footprint matching the high-top sneakers he was wearing at the time of his disappearance. Further search of that area also uncovered more items that belonged to Jared, including the wrappers for beef jerky and candy, and most importantly, the disposable camera he had with him. Inside, the film held 12 photos, most of which were landscapes he captured throughout the trip. But the final image, taken after he had gone missing, was a chilling close-up of Jared's own eyes and nose, illuminated by the camera's flash. And while this photo proved that Jared was still alive hours after he went missing, it offered...
So, like, you ever heard of the Donner Party? Donner Pass is in California. It was... They got so cold they ate each other. That's in California.
Little to no clue about his whereabouts. The pitch black background and low resolution obscured any background details that might have helped rescuers pinpoint where the photo was taken. Over the next 2 weeks, nearly 3,000 volunteers and professionals poured more than...
Hold on. Now you guys are making me pull up a map of California. Map of California. How big... We are the third... Are we the largest or the third largest? Let me pull up. Here, let me do topographical. Topography. Here we go. Here's a... This is probably a good one. This is like when we're getting the most amount of rain. This is a geology map. So there's a couple of different ones. So here's our elevation. Green is below sea level. I believe this is the Salton Sea. And this is central. Okay, this is where a lot of our farming land is. This is where I drove up through. Up here is where the Bay, this is the Bay Area. So this would be, you know, San Jose is down here where I was. San Francisco's up here. This is NorCal. Okay, well, you could argue this counts as NorCal. I count this as central, but like basically anything in this pocket, like here is classified as central. I'm in Southern. I live down here. But we've got the Rocky Mountains. We've got a lot of mountains. This down here is a desert. This is all desert. LA is a desert. That's why it gets cold at night and hot during the day. But this is the coastal climate, so it's very, you know, nice. But yeah, this is California. It's big. I baby tiny dot in this vicinity-ish. Okay. Down here would be San Diego area. This is Death Valley's in here. So we've got, again, some of the hottest days ever recorded in the United States are recorded in Death Valley. We think of quintessential California. Which part of the map are we talking about? Typically the LA vicinity. This over here is Catalina Island. This is the Channel Islands. So this right here is Santa Rosa. This is the island that caught fire. Catalina Island I grew up coming to. That's about 70-minute boat ride off the coast. Like I said, San Francisco is up here. Yeah. Mountains. All up in here. All mountains. I live near mountains. We got the valley, you know, we got many a thing. Okay.
45,000 combined hours into searching the vast San Bernardino National Forest. But with no solid leads to follow, the search dragged on without making any significant progress. On August...
For me to go to Donner Pass, it would be about an 8-hour drive from my current location.
August 4, after 16 days, the search for Jared was officially called off by the authorities, leaving the mystery of his disappearance unsolved to this day.
Not finding anything.
So, what really happened to Jared? Well, there are several possibilities. The first of which is that he accidentally took the wrong trail and got lost while trying to catch up with the rest of the Boy Scouts. However, while getting lost is a common cause of disappearance in the wilderness, it doesn't quite add up in Jared's case. You see, this all took place in the middle of summer, so there was no risk of him succumbing to harsh elements like extreme cold. He also had plenty of drinkable water in the 2-quart canteen he had on him, not to mention the countless freshwater creeks and ponds dotted throughout the mountain. Put simply, he would have survived for at least a few days, and with thousands of rescuers scouring the area, it's likely someone would have found him. So, a more plausible theory is that he potentially slipped and fell off a sheer cliff. After all, he was shortcutting the switchbacks when the second group of hikers spotted him.
Shortcutting the switchbacks is dangerous, and then also you may think you have solid footing. He was in high-top Converse, which have some tread, but they're not nearly as much grip for the rocky terrain that would be out there. Heat and sun, good example as well.
It's possible he kept taking those dangerous shortcuts after they left, and one misstep on the steep terrain in the darkness led to a fatal fall. But this still begs the question, why didn't any of the rescuers come across his body despite the extensive search? Which brings us to the third possibility. He was dragged away by a wild animal. Mount San Gorgonio is home to both black bears and cougars. Some people also believe the glowing dot in the background of Jared's last photo is one of the eyes of a predator that was stalking him at the time. However, the search teams didn't find any clue of this being the case either. There was no blood, torn clothes, or drag marks anywhere in the area, which points to the most disturbing possibility that instead Jared was abducted by someone. If we accept this as true, it explains why there was no sign of Jared or his body anywhere on the mountain. Unfortunately, it's been over 33 years since Jared vanished, and investigators still haven't found anything that could guide them toward a proper conclusion. His disappearance remains just as much a mystery today as it was the day he went missing. On June 15, 1989, a woman in Port St. Joe, Florida, spotted a Polaroid photo lying in the parking lot of a convenience store on her way out. Without thinking much of it, she picked it up and flipped it over, only to be met with a disturbing image she'd never forget. The photo showed a young girl and a much younger boy lying in the back of a white, windowless van with duct tape over their mouths and their hands seemingly tied behind their backs. The woman alerted the police almost immediately, especially since the white van in the image looked eerily similar to the one she saw in the same parking lot minutes earlier. She also provided a description of the driver, allowing investigators to create a sketch of the suspect. However, even after setting up a perimeter around the area, the police weren't able to find the van or its driver. What they didn't know at the time was that this photo would eventually connect to a crime that took place more than 1,500 miles away. The victim of this crime was a 19-year-old college student named Tara Lee Calico. On September 20, 1988, nearly 9 months before the Polaroid was discovered, Tara left her home at around 9:30 a.m. for her daily bike ride. Every day, she'd ride down New Mexico's Highway 47 until reaching the railroad tracks intersecting the road, turning around and taking the same route back home. But on this particular day, Tara had plans with her boyfriend at 12:30 p.m. and didn't want to be late. So she told her mother, Patty, to come pick her up if she wasn't back by noon. And that's exactly what happened. When noon came and went with no sign of Tara, Patty got in her car and began driving along Tara's usual route, hoping to find her somewhere along the way. However, despite going up and down the highway a couple of times, she couldn't find Tara anywhere. Patty rushed back home and called the police to report Tara missing. The authorities immediately put together a search party and began looking for her in the surrounding area. And it wasn't long before they found their first clue, a cassette tape that Tara was likely listening to on the side of the highway. They also found tire tracks matching her bike near this cassette. Unfortunately, Tara and her neon pink bike were nowhere to be seen. As the search radius became larger, the only other clue they found was a broken piece of her yellow cassette player, miles from where she was supposed to be. Patty believed her daughter had been abducted, and this piece was her way of leaving a trail. This theory was further supported by multiple witness accounts from people who reported seeing an old, worn-out pickup truck closely tailing Tara as she headed back home around 11:30 a.m. Witnesses also noted that Tara was wearing her headphones at the time and seemed unaware of the truck. This suspicion only became stronger when, 9 months after her disappearance, this Polaroid was discovered in Florida. The woman who found this didn't know about Tara's case at the time. But as the photo gained more attention, it eventually reached Patty, who became convinced that the girl in the picture was her missing daughter. Not only did this girl look like Tara, but Patty also noted that the book in the photo was from one of Tara's favorite authors. The connection between Tara and this photo deepened further when another New Mexico family came.
is also a crazy book, if you've ever read it. I don't particularly recommend it.
Forward, claiming they recognized the boy in the photo. They believed it was their son, 9-year-old Michael Henley, who'd gone missing in April of 1988 during a hunting trip with his father. However, that's when Tara's case took a turn. Because, as it turns out, there's a real possibility that the girl
That
in the
looks like a
photo isn't Tara at
completely
all.
different
For
boy.
starters, in June of 1990, investigators found the remains of Michael about 7 miles from the campsite he was staying at. He wasn't abducted by anyone. Instead, he likely just wandered off, lost his way, and subsequently died of exposure to the elements. This led many to question whether the Polaroid had any real connection to Tara's specific disappearance at all. And investigations from different departments enhanced the confusion further. Some concluded that the girl in the photo was undoubtedly Tara, while others pointed out the many structural differences between their faces. But if she wasn't abducted by the owner of this white van, then what exactly happened to Tara? Surprisingly, we might actually get a conclusive answer to this question more than 37 years after her disappearance. On the 13th of June 2023, the Valencia County Sheriff's Office announced a massive update on the case, stating, "At this time, law enforcement believes there is sufficient evidence to submit this investigation to the District Attorney's Office for review of potential charges. Currently, the identities and specifics of the persons of interest are sealed by the court and will remain so until a court order otherwise." Put simply, after decades of investigating, the police have finally cracked the case and are just waiting for the DA's approval to release the information to the public. As for why it took so long, a widely believed theory is that Tara was accidentally
It's
hit by a
called
group
My
of
Sweet
teenagers
Audrina.
while biking home. Fearing the consequences, they panicked, abducted her, and eventually killed her to cover up the accident. And according to some, one of those teenagers was the son of the local sheriff, leading to a deliberate and coordinated cover-up that kept the truth buried for decades. Now, whether this theory holds any weight is unknown. But if this does turn out to be the case, who the girl in the Polaroid picture actually is remains a mystery. On June 8, 1988, an ATM in LA captured what were possibly the final moments of 22-year-old LA resident Matthew Chase. The day had started like any other. Matt spent most of it at work, then went out for dinner with his roommate and close friend Teresa. When the two returned home at around 11:45 p.m., Matt noticed the paycheck he received earlier that day sitting on the coffee table. He was running low on funds, and the bank would have taken about 24 hours to clear the paycheck. So instead of waiting till morning, Matt decided to go deposit it right away. The nearest ATM was just 2 blocks away from their apartment. But since it was getting quite late, Teresa told him to take her car just to be on the safe side. She also asked him to bring a bag of cat food from the store across the street. The whole trip should have taken no more than 15 minutes. But an hour went by and Matt still hadn't returned. Teresa figured he was just driving around town to get some fresh air, so she went to sleep. However, when she woke up in the morning, Matt was still not home. She quickly got up and contacted her brother Steve, who was also good friends with Matt. Together, they called the police and tried to file a missing person report. Unfortunately, since Matt had only been missing for less than 12 hours, the police decided to hold off on launching an investigation just yet.
Hate it.
Unsatisfied with this response, Teresa and Steve decided to find clues themselves, and so Steve called the bank pretending to be Matt. According to the bank, Matt had unsuccessfully tried to withdraw money several times since, including one transaction of $280. This was quite odd for 2 main reasons. One, $280 was far above the maximum withdrawal limit for Matt's ATM card. More importantly, Matt's account didn't even have $100, let alone $280, which is why he went out to deposit a paycheck in the first place. He should have known both of these things quite well. So the fact he tried to make these transactions anyway indicated that he was being forced to do so by someone else. Teresa and Steve called the police again with this newfound information, and this time authorities took the case more seriously. Though, unlike today, most ATMs at the time didn't have cameras. Luckily, one of the machines he tried to withdraw from did have a functioning camera, giving investigators a crucial lead.
Jeez.
A grainy but discernible image of Matt at the ATM,
With
with a
another
mysterious man looming just behind him. As the investigation was going on, Matt's card was used again, a day and a half after his disappearance. By then, his paycheck had cleared, allowing whoever made this transaction to withdraw $400. The authorities took notice of this withdrawal and froze Matt's card. So the next time someone tried to use that card, it was confiscated by the ATM. Unfortunately, none of this helped investigators track down Matt or his kidnapper. There were 2 composite sketches made of the suspect from the low-res photo, but no one recognized the man based on these. They also tried dusting the confiscated card for fingerprints, but it was completely clean. On June 27th, nearly 3 weeks after Matt's disappearance, the car he'd been driving was finally found. And it was surprisingly close to the ATM that captured this photo. The fact that no one had spotted it sooner suggested that it was likely dumped there later by his abductor. And while it was wiped clean of any fingerprints, just like
Were
the
people
card,
looking
police did
for
find a
it?
blue bandana in the back with the letters ESPBSCLS written on it. From what I was able to find, ESPBS stood for East Side Playboys, a notorious gang in the area. Despite this connection, however, investigators weren't able to find any solid evidence that could help them track down the suspect. By this point, the chances of Matt making it out alive were looking increasingly slim. Tragically, his friends and family's worst fear came to light on September 17,
did they find
1988, when a group of people found his body floating in a ravine in Pasadena. He had a gunshot wound in his head, and according to the autopsy report, was killed and dumped in the ravine 3 months ago, likely a couple days after his abduction. But with no other leads, Matt's case went cold for the next 30 years. Then, in 2018, LAPD announced that they had the answer to Matt's disappearance. According to the report, Matt was killed by a 20-year-old gangster named David Mesa, who went by the name Bear. Apparently, David's girlfriend confirmed that the man in the ATM photo was indeed her boyfriend. As for David himself, police found out that he was killed in a gang-related shootout just 2 days after he supposedly killed Matt. Now, this raises more questions than it answers. Like, why would anyone kidnap and kill someone just for $400? Was David alone in all of this, or did he have any accomplices? And if David died days after committing the crime, who dumped Teresa's car near the original crime scene 3 weeks later? That said, this revelation was still enough to give Matt's friends and family the closure they needed after 3 decades. In March of 1998, 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley went on a cruise with her brother and 2 parents. However, what began as a joy...
I don't want to go into the Amy.
On May 8th,
There's a documentary on Amy. Low key, I think she's alive.
2021, a woman named Malie
Or she
Perales
at
was
least
driving
was.
down the Packer Drive Northeast Road alongside the Rogue River in Belmont, Michigan. She and her 2 roommates were on their way back after a night out, and they were all in a cheerful mood. However, their smiles quickly vanished as they stumbled onto a horrifying scene. At around 2:30 a.m., while driving near the Rogue Hollow Court, one of the passengers spotted a strange figure lurking by the side of the road. This encounter was extremely
wrap it up after this
terrifying,
one.
but
I
it
am
also
gonna try and
sparked
make
the group's
myself fat tonight.
curiosity, and after some deliberation, they decided to turn around, and this is what they then came across.
What the Stop.
Ah.
Hell no. What the
We've seen this one, I think.
They saw what looked like a young woman drenched from head to toe as if she had just crawled out of the nearby river. She also looked like she was crying, banging her head on the road and waving for help. Malie posted the video of this encounter on TikTok and it instantly went viral, leading people to come up with all sorts of far-fetched theories about ghosts, spirits, etc. However, as wild as the theories got, Malie later posted several videos shutting them down and revealing what really happened. According to her, they kept circling back and driving past the disturbed woman several times after recording the first video to make sure she was okay. While none of them had the nerve to get out of the car and approach her, they did call the cops and waited nearby until help arrived. The woman was then taken to a nearby hospital where she was treated for cold exposure. As it turns out, she somehow fell into the Rogue River from the east side and swam across it onto the road.
Yep, she had to have come up out of the water. Yep, there's a dig spot there. So she came up from down there. That's had to have been why she was so wet. This was the spot that she had left. I don't know why or what was going on.
After regaining some composure, she also revealed that the woman was from Kalamazoo, a town that's over 60 miles from where she was found. However, she had no recollection of how she got to Belmont and fell in a river so far away from home. From what we know, she was most likely experiencing a severe mental break, where her memory gap was caused by a rare condition known as fugue state, something we covered in our previous video on the most disturbing mental disorders.
Jesus.
For those who don't know, a fugue state is a rare condition where a person suddenly loses their memory and starts acting like someone else. They might wander off, travel long distances, or do things completely out of character without realizing anything is wrong. It's usually triggered by extreme stress or trauma, and once it's over, the person often has no memory of what happened. And while this condition is quite rare, all the signs suggest that's exactly what happened to this mysterious woman from Kalamazoo, especially since the authorities later found her car parked behind a random house just east of the river. She likely drove to that neighborhood on her own but had zero memory of doing so, which fits perfectly with the known symptoms of fugue state. Malie also shared her video in a local Facebook group, hoping to find more answers about what went down. Unfortunately, the responses she received weren't as helpful as she'd hoped, since most people in the neighborhood believe the screaming and noises were just the sounds of a wild animal, like a coyote. But there were a few responses that deepened the mystery. Like this one person who remembered meeting her earlier that same night, stating, "Saw this person between Van Dam and Packer Woods around 10:15 p.m. Friday. Asked her if she needed help, to which she responded no." Another person also mentioned hearing about a woman walking into his neighbor's house, yelling hello 3 times and then leaving on her own. And while this added further evidence supporting the fugue state theory, these responses still left a key question unanswered. Who was she? Malie tried to contact both the police and the hospital for answers, but despite her insistence, both the police officers and the hospital staff refused to reveal her real name. That said, we still have enough information to make an educated guess. Based on everything I could uncover, the mysterious woman in this unsettling video was most likely Mei Zhou. She was a 28-year-old Chinese woman who went missing from Kalamazoo on May 6, 2021. Before her disappearance, she told her friends that she felt like she was being followed by a stalker she met online.
They're on
Unfortunately, these are the only details about her case that were made public.
Yeah, no
I
shit.
couldn't find any clear answers on whether the stalker was
horrifying.
real or if she was just overwhelmed by paranoia. In either case,
God,
the
would I
constant
tell
fear
y'all
and
if this
stress of
happened to me?
feeling
I don't
watched
know.
likely drove her to slip into some variation of the fugue state we discussed earlier.
I don't know if
Hopefully
I'd
she
tell
received
y'all.
the mental help she desperately
I'd probably
needed
tell
and is
y'all
now in a
later.
better mental state than she once was.
I'd probably tell y'all later. Like once I got myself together.
Tracking down a missing person can be an extremely daunting task, but tracking down a person's personal information often isn't. For example, just by knowing your name and the town or city.
Not the ad.
In June of 2024, streamer Lacey and his friend Clix were doing an IRL live stream in Miami, Florida. The two were simply going around town and having fun. What they didn't realize was that this stream would end up saving someone's life.
Oh, God.
It happened a few hours into the stream when they sat down at the Starlight Hotel Cafe for lunch. As they waited to order, a guy walked up to their table wearing nothing but neon green shorts. Lacey and Clix initially assumed he was just another fan eager to talk to his favorite streamers, a pretty typical scenario for popular IRL streamers. But something about this young man didn't sit right. He was trying to keep a conversation going, but his words were slurred and nothing he said really made sense.
Hey, are you sparring, bro? Are you sparring? Yo, you good, bro? Good what?
The streamers figured he was either drunk or on some kind of drugs. For content, they started poking fun at him a bit before shifting their focus back to their stream. But the guy continued to linger around, acting very odd and saying unintelligible sentences for the next half hour or so before finally leaving them for good. The streamer simply labeled it as an odd interaction from someone under the influence of something or another and continued on with their stream. Lacey later uploaded an edited down version of this stream on his YouTube channel. And that's when he got an email that made him realize the significance of what they had just caught on camera. 2 days after this video went up, Lacey received an email from a man named Trent claiming to be the brother of the guy seen in green shorts. It read, "Hello, my name is Trent Coleman, and my missing little brother from Michigan was on Clix and Lacey's stream in Miami. He was wearing green shorts and they were making fun of him. He is not on drugs, he is schizophrenic, and he is 17 years old. If someone can contact me about this, I would be so thankful. He has been missing for 3 months, and his case was put on homicide in Michigan." In most cases, emails like these are just trolls trying to mess with creators. However, after some research, Lacey discovered that Trent was actually telling the truth and posted this new development on Twitter stating, "3 months ago, a 17-year-old kid went missing and was put on homicide. Yesterday on stream, he came up to me and Clix, and now his family knows he is alive and in Miami. I wasn't sure if I should make this public, but I'm hoping somehow this helps him be found for his family."
Sorry, Benny.
In a reply to his tweet, Lacey also attached an article that provided additional details about the case.
trying to meet someone else.
Apparently, the teenager's name was Troy Coleman, and he had been missing from his home in Michigan since May of 2024.
That looks like a different
According to the
person,
article,
but
Troy
weight
was
loss
last seen in Mount Morris Township
would do
around
it.
9:30 a.m. on May 17th. In the 3 months since his disappearance, he had somehow traveled from Michigan all the way to Miami with no medication, no money, and no clear explanation of how he got there. This was extremely concerning considering Troy's lack of vital medication for his schizophrenia was known to cause serious hallucinations. His sudden reappearance only deepened the mystery. With no leads and no logical explanation, Michigan police were left so baffled that they even began investigating his case as a potential homicide. So, the fact that Troy randomly appeared on Lacey and Clix's
I do
stream
think it's
and his
him.
brother just so happened to be
If he's not been taking care of himself, if he's very skinny, his eyes look sunken like he's not eating well, and if he's off his medication, he could have drastically lost weight in 3 months. Also, tanned because he's in Miami. If he's out all the time, this skin tone is very easy to achieve if you are constantly outside of Miami.
watching that stream was nothing short of a miracle. But somehow the coincidences keep piling up, and what happened next made the whole situation even stranger. While Troy was still on stream, another young fan approached the two streamers and tried to strike up a conversation. However, before he could even introduce himself, Troy interrupted them again and started saying something to the younger fan. He was still talking incoherently, which made the streamers even more uncomfortable and confused about his intentions. During this time, he also gave the younger fan the styrofoam cup he was holding. The young boy quickly took a sip of whatever was in the cup and walked away. Lacey's cameraman noticed the exchange and immediately pointed it out to the streamer. By now, they were convinced that Troy was on drugs, and that raised a serious concern. Had he just given the kid something laced? Not wanting to ignore it, Lacey decided to confront Troy, asking him directly what was in the cup. But to their surprise, Troy's answer was a lot more coherent than expected. He simply stated that it was just a soft drink from Beacon Hotel.
What was in the drink? What was in that drink? In the drink? Yeah. You gave it to him. It was Coke from Beacon Hotel. Coca-Cola? Yeah. Making sure you gave it to the kid. I gave it to a kid.
This coincidental interaction gave authorities the crucial lead they needed. Troy was, in fact, staying at the very hotel he had mentioned. From there, it didn't take long for investigators to track down Troy and reunite him with his family, who were overjoyed to have him back. In a later interview with People.com, Troy's father, Weston Coleman, shared even more heartbreaking details of what Troy went through. According to him, Troy actually wanted to visit Florida to find and meet celebrities. He did his research online and saved up as much money as he could before setting off. Troy made it to Atlanta by bus, but that's where things took a turn for the worst. During his stay in Atlanta, he was robbed of everything he had. Left with nothing, he traveled the rest of the way to Miami completely broke. Despite the hardship, his family was ultimately glad that he was still alive and well, with his father stating, "I'm just glad he's alive at this point and now can't believe we found him. We all feel a lot better and we thank everybody." From what I can find, Troy's been living with his family in Michigan ever since and has managed to stay out of any more trouble. On August 3, 2013, 40-year-old James DiMaggio invited family friend Christina Anderson and her two kids, 8-year-old Ethan and 16-year-old Hannah, over to his home in Boulevard, California. He claimed it was just a farewell visit before moving to Texas. And this wasn't anything unusual. James had been a close friend with both Christina and her husband Brett for quite some time and was like an uncle to the kids. And since Brett was away for a 3-month job in Tennessee, James helped the family regularly with things like driving Hannah to and from her gymnastics class. However, what seemed like an innocent invitation quickly turned into a horrifying nightmare. It started on August 4 when the children's grandparents called the police and reported the family as missing after not hearing from Christina all day. They also informed the police about the family's plan to visit James. However, when investigators reached James's home, it was already engulfed in flames. Firefighters rushed to the scene and suppressed the fire. Unfortunately, they were too late. Inside the burnt house, they discovered the bodies of Christina Anderson, her son Ethan, and even the family dog. And while this could have been nothing more than a tragic accident, the reality was far more cruel. Later autopsy discovered severe injuries on Christina.
Hey guys, no one said he afforded that hotel. He got Coke from the hotel. That styrofoam cup was probably a water cup from somewhere else, and he went into... If you walk with purpose into any hotel, you can go get a drink. Like he probably wasn't staying at that hotel. He probably... That styrofoam cup looked like a water cup from literally any other place, which a lot of places will give you for free, especially with how hot it gets in Miami. Take that, you then walk around, go to a soda machine, get whatever you want, and walk out. I see that in OC. I see that everywhere. That's not shocking. Said he was staying at the hotel. Staying could be several things. It could be someone put him up for the night. It could be that he was, finding a way to sleep by the pool. It doesn't mean he was staying at the hotel in the traditional sense.
These included signs of plastic cable ties around her ankle and arms, duct tape marks around her neck and mouth, multiple fractures in her right arm and both legs, a cut on her neck, and signs of at least 12 heavy strikes to the head.
You guys also have to remember, okay, he's a minor. He's 17, which means, yes, there could be other things, like how he was able to afford getting a room at that hotel, or why someone would put him up at that hotel, okay, that they don't want to disclose because he's 17. Okay? Let's use context clues. Let's use our brains.
Her 8-year-old son Ethan also had multiple fractures throughout his body.
Jesus.
However, despite the horrific scene, there were no signs of James or Hannah anywhere near the house. It didn't take long for investigators to connect the dots and realize that James DiMaggio was the mastermind behind this horrific crime. It also became clear that he had orchestrated the murders not just out of violence, but with the intent to kidnap Hannah. His actions were calculated and driven by some twisted obsession as he took her from everything she had in her life. After learning about this, the police quickly issued a statewide Amber Alert in hopes of getting any information regarding James and missing Hannah's whereabouts. In the meantime, investigators also discovered security footage of James passing through the Border Patrol checkpoint in Pine Valley at around 10 p.m. This also prompted them to launch a massive manhunt spanning the entire Pacific coast from British Columbia to Baja California. However, despite the massive effort and the hundreds of man-hours put into the search, the manhunt turned up empty. Every lead seemed to result in a dead end, and the odds of successfully rescuing Hannah started to dwindle with every passing day. Things looked bleak. That is, until 3 days later when 2 horseback riders spotted a man and a girl while trekking through the remote wilderness of Cascade, Idaho. They had seen the broadcast of Hannah's disappearance on TV and instantly recognized the young girl and her captor. They reported the sighting to authorities, who instantly began investigating the area, and soon after they found James's car with its plates removed to avoid detection. However, it still took them 3 more days to track down the campsite James was hiding in. The FBI had set up a jet with a sophisticated long-range camera recording from thousands of feet above, which is what you're seeing now. This footage confirmed they had found the missing Hannah. On the 10th of August, the FBI took it upon itself to rescue Hannah and mobilized a tactical team for the mission. They kept eyes on James for some time, looking for the right moment to attack. However, he was sticking close to Hannah, which made it near impossible for the rescue team to make their move. Fortunately, after some time, James moved away to gather some firewood. And while he was completely oblivious, Hannah actually spotted a rescue helicopter and started waving for help.
Damn.
This was the perfect opportunity, and the FBI didn't let it go to waste. They quickly moved in and carried Hannah to safety. After noticing the rescue mission, James took out one of the guns he had with him and fired at an officer. The rescue team then returned fire, resulting in him getting shot 6 times in the head, arms, and upper torso. Hannah was finally safe. And while this was one of the most terrifying experiences a teenage girl can have, Hannah's managed to completely bounce back.
It's horrifying.
She is now 27 years old and is happily living with her husband and 1-year-old son in Vancouver, Canada.
Baby. The baby.
On the 27th of May 2013 at around 4 p.m., 73-year-old Robert McDonough disappeared from his home in Portland, Maine. Now, an elderly person going missing is extremely stressful on its own. However, what made Robert's situation even more dire was the fact that he was also suffering from dementia. For those who don't know, dementia is a mental condition which makes it difficult to remember things, think clearly, or even recognize familiar faces. People with dementia can forget everything from their own names to the faces of loved ones, leaving them confused about where they are or how they got there. This can also extend to forgetting where they live. For someone with dementia, wandering outside can quickly turn from a harmless mistake to a life-threatening situation. A person with memory loss isn't just lost in terms of direction, they're lost in terms of identity and awareness. They forget how to care for themselves, how to recognize danger, and how to make decisions in an increasingly hostile world. These conditions could prove to be lethal for a healthy young adult, and the danger is increased tenfold for a frail elderly man trying to navigate a world that no longer makes sense to him. He could have easily wandered into traffic or tripped and fallen in a remote area, and no one would have known. Put simply, Robert's life was in extreme danger. This is also why the authorities moved quickly after receiving the missing report and began searching every corner of the city within hours of his disappearance.
Search and rescue teams spent more than 14 hours searching an area of Leamington after 73-year-old Robert McDonough who has dementia, disappeared Monday afternoon. Around 6 a.m., search teams were briefed and started to intensify their effort.
It was going into the second operational period, which means we're starting to ramp up, using a lot of GPS technology. Well, again, we'd have our pilots, we'd have ATVs, canines.
However, they were having a hard time figuring out where Robert could have gone. When someone with dementia goes missing, searching for them is not like searching for someone who's just wandered off. In most cases, they don't even realize they're lost at all. They might walk aimlessly or even retrace the same steps without ever reaching familiar ground. Their confusion can send them in any direction, far from where they should be. But then, about 14 hours into the search, something happened that no one saw coming. On May 28 at 6:30 a.m., a reporter from Portland's local network was recording a section about the disappearance of Robert on the street, when, out of nowhere, an old man walked into the frame.
Oh my god. Oh, like deadass walked into frame.
At first, the reporter brushed him off as just another bystander. But after a few moments, he suddenly realized who the elderly man was. This was Robert McDonough, or Bob as he went by, the man everyone was looking for.
Anybody give a phone call? I'm calling the warden service there at the Farmington. This is Bob. This is you identify him as Bob McDonough?
I think so. It's Bob McDonough. Yeah. He looks a lot like a
Watch
guy.
yourself.
Yeah.
Watch yourself.
Yeah. That's Bob McDonough.
Fortunately, he was completely unharmed, despite being out in the cold all night.
Oh,
Upon
God.
realizing his identity, the news crew immediately contacted the authorities. And it wasn't long before Robert was reunited with his family. But here's the thing. Robert returning like this was nothing more than a stroke of good luck.
He looks
While his
so
story had a
he just
somewhat
looks like
happy ending,
lost.
it could have just as easily turned
Gosh.
into an irreparable loss.
Ah, no.
On the night of July...
We're done.
On
We're done. God, that's crazy. That easily could have just been, you know. God, 80. You guys love the dark shit. 80 viewers is crazy. You guys love when I am watching dark shit. Okay, we're rating Scoot. Is he live or is this? Yeah. Couldn't tell. Okay, we're rating Scoot. He's playing several things, it looks like. All right. I will try and be live tomorrow, but I will be in Denver. Okay. So we shall see. Have fun. Bye. Bye. I'm flying into Denver, so we'll see. Depends how tired I am from getting to Denver. I have to go through that airport. Haunted. Cursed. So we'll see. Have fun. Bye. All right, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. Bye.